good morning, my favorite people. How are y'all doing today? Did you get some sleep last night? Oh, it's so good to see y'all. I had to grab my coffee, get myself together. I got up a little bit late today, which kind of shocked me because I'm like, why didn't I wake up? My husband didn't set the alarm, so we didn't hear shit. Sorry. So he was like rushing to get out the door too because school has started back, and so his drive is even a little longer now. But anyway, so good to see everybody. Let me grab my little glasses and collect them over by the coffee pot. Yesterday's problem. Got my little glasses. I'm going to put like just a little bit of that stupid music on. Good morning to everybody. Good morning, Sprinkle. Good morning, Pam. How y'all doing so far? Let me put a little music on. I need to run upstairs and fix something right quick. I know that air conditioner's not set right. And today is going to be hotter today than it was yesterday. So, yeah, just going to be debilitating over here today. Anyway, let me run upstairs and fix that so we don't have, I want it to, like what I want to happen is the bottom air conditioner not to work too hard because the top air conditioner's not set right. Anyway, we go put on some music and I'm going to take care of that. And then I'll be right back and ready to go, guys. I know. And Jack's going to bark. I'm sorry. All right, now we are ready to go. Who else has joined us? Let me get my little glasses on so I can see. Okay. was Pam. Cinderella, how you doing today? I hope you're feeling better, my friend. We hope you are feeling better. I know the other day you were not feeling very good, so I do not want to use. Look, Court TV the whole time has this big old thing right here. Let's go find us a different feed. I don't really want to see that. You know, the news station that I was using doesn't come on as early as the rest of them do. So let me go find us one where we don't have to see all that mess. Use this one. Yeah.
On May
26th of 2023.
2023. So 3 years ago and a few months. I don't know that. I don't remember.
That would have been approximately 4 months after the incident.
Okay,
And
this is just a recap of yesterday, but it is today's stream. They're just showing this while we wait. And Dr. Zeisel's testimony. Hey, Leslie, how you doing this morning? So good to see you.
I don't remember.
Listen, yesterday's testimony by Dr. Zeisel was quite
on that day.
Quite the testimony. Now, a lot of people think that what he testified to yesterday helped the defense. I do not think so.
I don't remember.
I do not think that people believe his testimony because he made 60 visits to her, and he was acting in a biased confirmation, as far as I'm concerned. Because he talked about his patience. He's not his patient if you're acting
were you
as
aware that
an expert,
the defendant
right?
was observed at
So,
Tewksbury,
there should
monitored
be
on
two
one-to-one
more.
for safety, that she accepted medication, meals, and snacks. She spent time in the
Hang on. So there should be two more expert witnesses today, and there's going to be one today and maybe one tomorrow. And I'm thinking on Monday they will rest this case and it will go to the jury on Tuesday or Wednesday, because I expect their closing statements to be rather long, right? Because each side is going to try to convince that jury that don't listen to that side because they're just feeding you a bunch of gobbledygook. That didn't really happen. She's, defense of this. She's really sick. Did y'all not see that? Did y'all not see her in her wheelchair? Did y'all not see how she was breaking down every single time? That's what I think is going to happen here. It is now, let's see what time. 7:52. So this is a funny situation. It's not funny, but I know that if you wear contacts, I know you've dealt with this before. I have little contacts that folded up on my left eye. All right. And it's like, it kind of got irritated. So this morning I'm putting all kinds of, like liquid in there to try to get it to not be irritated. So, I'm having to wear my stronger reading glasses, which sucks. But anyway, we're ready to go. Anyway. Okay, so I guess we'll just re-listen to Dr. Zeisel while he testifies over here this morning while we wait. Y'all get your snacks, get your, your coffee, get everything you're gonna need, and get it right there around you, so that you don't have to get up and miss anything. If you need me to stop the testimony or stop the feed while you go do something else, just let me know. I don't mind. I know everybody has to take bathroom breaks except. So if that's what y'all need today, you just let me know. And as I always say, everybody is welcome here. All opinions are welcome. We do not slander anybody. We do not make derogatory statements towards any people in chat or other creators on YouTube, etc. And we are here a safe space for everyone to come and enjoy. So, done with that. I have not read our Fair Use Act, but it's down here scrolling across the bottom, so you can see it that we do follow fair use over here. And please like, subscribe, and share. And thank you for coming in today. Now, I'm going to let y'all listen to this.
TV room or floor, which would have been Callan's second birthday.
I would believe that record's probably accurate. I don't remember looking at that record specifically.
How about on September 30th of 2024, page 1229 of the Tewksbury record, where it's noted that she was visible in the unit, attended startup/coffee group, she was assisted with ADLs as needed. She was in safe behavioral control for the duration of the shift. And that later it reads, patient visible in the hallways, seated in her wheelchair outside her bedroom, using her cell phone, pleasant upon approach, social with select peers. That would have been on September 30th, 2024, which would be Dawson's 5th birthday. Do you recall reviewing that in the record?
Not off the top of my head, but I have no reason to doubt that it's not an accurate record.
December 24th, 2024, page 1442 of the Tewksbury records. It says The patient was visible on the unit utilizing her phone. Her parents were in to visit and they brought dinner with them. Patient accepted medications and fluids. Patient in good behavioral control, maintaining safety. No SIB noted or reported. What do you have reason to doubt that that's page 1,442 of the Tewksbury record?
I have no reason to doubt that that's not an accurate reflection of what took place that day.
And what's SIB?
Self-injurious behavior.
And so December 24th, 2024, that would have been Cora's 7th birthday, right?
Yes.
So January 24th, 2025, from page 1,514 of the Tewksbury records, where it reads, inpatient treatment goal, to work on my mental health and to feel better. It says, she participated in morning ADL routine with staff assistance. Patient was visible on the milieu at times in the hallway utilizing her phone. No SIB has been reported this shift. Does that, do you have any reason to doubt that that's contained on page 1,514?
I have no reason to doubt that.
And the further observations on that day were that the patient was visible on the unit. She was social with select staff and peers and also seen utilizing her phone. Her parents were in to visit and brought her dinner, and they brought dinner with them. That was, again, on January 24th, 2025, which would have been the second anniversary of this incident, correct?
Yes.
May 26, 2025, page 1,782 of the Tewksbury records. It says, she did not engage in any SIB. She was visited by her parents this shift. She attended startup group and watched TV. That would have been on May 26, 2025, which would have been Callan's 3rd birthday. Do you have any reason to doubt that?
Let me tell you something. So this morning, I decided I was going to ask ChatGTP exactly, do you think that Lindsay Clancy will be found sane at the time she killed the children? And again, this morning it says, yes, if I had to predict the jury today, I would lean toward criminally responsible or sane. But I think it's much closer than it looked earlier in the trial. And I can see that. And the biggest reason I'm leaning that way is that jury has to decide her mental state at the exact time of the killings, not simply whether she was seriously mentally ill. The defense has now put a substantial evidence in front of them that Clancy was suffering from postpartum psychosis and bipolar disorder, and Dr. Paul Zeisel has testified that, in his opinion, she could not appreciate the wrongfulness of what she was doing or conform her conduct to law. It goes, what helps the defense? This is family members described a significant deterioration in her mental state before January 24th, including paranoia, suicidal thoughts, and fear of harming the children. Now, Zeisel testified that she reported hearing a male voice ordering her to kill the children and herself. He says her symptoms were genuine and that she was not malingering. The defense has presented evidence involving multiple psychiatric medications and possible medications related to worsening of her condition. Her attempting suicide immediately afterwards is a potentially powerful circumstantial evidence for the defense's theory. But here's the problem for the defense. This is very interesting. The prosecution doesn't necessarily have to convince the jurors that Lindsay was mentally ill or mentally healthy. They need to convince them that whatever mental illness she had, she still understood what she was doing was wrong and or was capable of controlling her conduct under the applicable Massachusetts standard. And here are some of the facts that could bother the jurors. Prosecutors argue that there was planning and purposeful behavior before the killings, including getting Patrick out of the house. Prosecution has attacked the timing and reliability of the claimed hallucinations. Some of her behavior surrounding the killings can look organized and goal-directed, and Zeisel did not treat her before the murders. Much of his opinion is based on subsequent evaluations and records. Prosecutors have highlighted inconsistencies in her presentation and questioned whether the evidence establishes psychosis at the precise moment of the killings. So my current prediction, if the trial ended right now, I'd put it roughly at criminally responsible 60%, not criminally responsible by reason of insanity is at 40%. But I would not call this a comfortable 60-40. The defense has done a substantially better job establishing serious mental illness than I initially expected. And there's one thing I'm watching very closely, how the prosecution handles Zeisel's testimony and the evidence about what Lindsay was capable of doing immediately before and during the killing. That will ultimately determine whether juries see her as profoundly mentally ill, a woman who crossed into a psychosis, or someone who was mentally ill but nevertheless legally responsible. Now, today's proceedings could change my prediction again, especially with the defense nearing the end of its case. There you go. How about that? That's what ChatGTP thinks today. But you know what? I'm tending to agree with ChatGTP right now. I really am. Okay, so Sprinkle says, but did she ever say she was worried about harming the children? I don't think so. She did. Sprinkle, actually, she did. We heard yesterday in the testimony that in December, when her mother was there, they were in the kitchen and she turned to them and said to both of them, I'm afraid, I feel like I could harm the children. That's what, I think that's what the testimony was. I don't think that's the exact wording, but that was what the testimony was yesterday. So, I don't know. It's kind of like, we never heard, no other doctor ever heard her talk about these hallucinations or these auditory, I guess it'd be auditory hallucinations, hearing voices. No other doctor, she told no other doctor that was happening. The only person who's ever said that was this Dr. Zeisel right here. And we know he is paid by the defense attorney. So is he just going to say whatever the defense attorney needs? Is this just like Dr. Lewis? Is it? When we talk about Letitia Stout and her bullshit. All right, let's see. Yeah. Oh shit, you missed it. Yeah, I know, Sprinkle, but that's okay. You can catch up later. You'll catch up to it. But yeah, there's so many things about testimony that came out where she's never made the statements ever, except for Dr. Zeisel. Nobody ever heard that before. Nobody, except for Patrick and his mother. Patrick and her mother in the kitchen one time in December. If you are not honest with your doctors, how are they supposed to help you? They can't. There's no way they can help you if you're not honest with them. She's over there seeing multiple doctors at the same time. She's not letting the other doctor know that she's seeing multiple doctors at the same time. She's getting medications from multiple doctors at the same time. She's going into this hospital. She's going over to this place, going over to that place. She's refusing to accept the help they are offering her. But yet she has filed suit against every doctor and every hospital that she went to, except for Susan Clancy's friend, Dr. Paul, or Nurse Paul, whatever her name is. I don't think that's her name now. I'm trying to remember. But that particular person was not included in the lawsuits that Patrick or Lindsay have filed separately for the wrongful deaths of their children. You tell me why not, right? If you're going to blame the medications and all the hospitals, or the doctors and the hospitals, why is that one not included? They all treated her. The amount of women supporting her just blows my mind. Oh my God, yes. Listen, last night my husband goes, what is this about? And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, look at this. And he showed me something on TikTok or something. And this woman has this bowl of ice and she's in her bathroom screaming and crying and throwing this ice in the bathtub saying, this is for Lindsay, this is for Lindsay. It's just the most ridiculous bullshit I've ever seen. What is wrong with these women? Postpartum or not, if you are seeking help, be honest with your doctors. Don't lie to them. If you think you're hearing voices, please tell somebody. Don't lie to anybody about it. You want to save yourself, be honest with your doctors. You want to save your children, be honest with your doctors. There's so much about this that is 100% Lindsay's fault. And why I'm saying this is because I'm going to go all the way back to 2012, where she supposedly took SSRIs for fear of public speaking in nursing school. See, I don't believe it was fear of public speaking in nursing school. I believe that it was harder than she thought it was going to be, and she was struggling. Because every time something is real work, i.e. having to be home with those children without any paid help or without her mother being there, it's too much work for her. It's too hard. She can't handle it. So remember, after the birth of Cora, she had no problems. But after the birth of Dawson, she started to struggle and didn't want to go back to work, was having problems with that. After the birth of Kellen, it's the same thing, except it gets worse, right? Think about those statements. Think about right there. Think about that. Yeah. She didn't take any of the meds as directed, and every doctor's giving her the same meds. They aren't working, and she said that. Because she's not taking them, right? You know, the prosecution put across something yesterday that was pretty damning. And that was the prescription said you start out 25 milligrams, and then after 7 days, you move up to 50 milligrams. Well, the bottle was 30 pills. She clearly only took 7 pills. That means for 7 days, she took 1 pill. She never increased the dosage. So how could that medication cause her to be worse? How did that medication cause her to take the life of her children? It didn't. There's no way. Anyway, let's see. Exactly. Yes, Cinderella. Thank you. Exactly. It's going to be really good today. I think, you know, we've heard them talk about this doctor. Is it Spinelli? Dr. Spinelli, I believe. I know that person is going to testify. That was discussed yesterday afternoon in The Lawyer We Know. I watched him a little bit yesterday afternoon. He was talking about that. And there's one other witness that still needs to testify, and it is an expert witness, but I don't remember their name. But this was talked about yesterday afternoon on The Lawyer We Know. And I like to watch him because he is a defense attorney by trade. So he is pointing out some of the things that's helping the defense win the case. So, and then, you know, if you've watched Vinnie Politan at all, Vinnie Politan's painting a pretty bad picture over there. Vinnie Politan is making you think, is Patrick involved? And yesterday, there was also some bullshit that came out about, oh, the reason why the trial stopped early was because they arrested Patrick and his new wife. No, they did not. This stuff needs to stop. If Patrick and his new wife were responsible for anything that happened in this case, they would have already been arrested. Okay? You don't take people to trial and then all of a sudden in the middle of the trial stop and arrest the other party. Yeah. Yeah. He's so handsome. Vinnie Paul, oh, The Lawyer We Know? Oh God, yeah, yes he is. I'll admit that. Yeah. Yeah, he is, I'm telling you. I want to see Stompy's face when he loses. Oh, me too. Me too. And you know what? We could all be wrong. I know that some people think on this channel we're a little bit biased because we are not giving Lindsay Clancy the chance to be in a psychosis. I mean, it's like I was watching another channel last night. I remember whose it was, and they were talking about, can't we have some people in here that are not biased? Because in that channel, everybody thought that the defense was winning, and it was okay. We have some unbiased people in the chat because everybody's going on with what he has to say. And I can see how that happens because when you're in a creator's channel, you tend to think like the creator does. You have like minds. That's why you're in their channel. You like who they are. You like how they think. And we are all like-minded. I mean, you're not going to go into a person's channel and start chatting with people that you know are 100% against what you think. I mean, that would be so uncomfortable, right? He's going to throw himself on the floor. Oh, God, yes, just like a toddler would do. Y'all make me laugh so hard. Thank you. I needed to laugh this morning. My husband was in such a bad mood because, you know, it's so freaking hot. Like today, with the heat index, it's going to be about 116. That is brutally hot because his car has to sit in a garage all day. And then he has to walk down the little street to get into his car. And then it's hot. And he's going to be sweating like a, you know what, because this is at 4:30 in the afternoon. So that's the heat of the day. So he's just not looking forward to it. Oh, man. Yeah. Yes, Cinderella. I make coffee, but I have to wait an hour until I drink it. It's beautiful. I took my throat. Leslie, keeping it real, that would have to be so hard for me. Because I feel like in the mornings, if I don't drink that one little cup of coffee and get going, I'm just not going to be able to function. I am addicted to the caffeine first thing in the mornings. Now, I do not drink a lot of Cokes. I drink mostly water. I just have my little cup of coffee in the morning, and then I drink water for the rest of the day. So that is my caffeine intake. Yeah. Oh, Lord. Someone needs to give him a bottle when he takes a fit. Yeah, we do, Pam. We do. Oh, let me move past this and make sure that they have. Let me get my feed caught up to them. Come on. What is it doing?
Record.
Remember this? Right there, that was his patient. Right there. He screwed up showing that. Let me turn this up. He absolutely screwed up showing that right there. They shouldn't have shown that.
And in some cases throughout the country and the world, these are people who one day will be functioning well, onset of trans hallucinations, we say, here, leave the voice, they have to do something. That's when tragedy occurs. And I think that sort of is under the overriding rubric that this case falls under.
Oh, look, we're getting ready. Oh, no.
So, sir, on December 8th of 2023, when you provided that
It is 8.
your observations, you had met with the defendant on 2 occasions, correct?
Let me see if the other one is up yet. I don't see him yet. Oh, come on. I like that one feed. Oh, here we go. Well, they're showing, a lot of people are
I don't
showing.
know who I spoke with.
She did hear voices.
That Ms. Clancy told her that she heard a male voice instructing her to first kill her children and then to kill herself.
So the same message that she delivered to Patrick that day on the phone, you heard from a chaplain at Brigham and Women's Hospital after the incident occurred in January of 2023?
Yes.
And so from all of the records that you reviewed of her treatment and all of the interviews with her family, who did she tell that she heard voices telling her to kill herself?
I believe she told family members.
Which family members?
I believe she may have said that to her mother. She, I believe, told her husband that she felt like killing herself as well.
It's okay, Leslie.
In the records with the providers, you're aware, you've reviewed them all and you've sat through all of their testimony. You're aware that when she described intrusive thoughts, she never referred to them as a voice telling her to kill herself, did they? Did she?
No, she was referring to...
It's just a yes or no?
No.
So as far as her reports of these intrusive thoughts that appear over and over in the note, but what they were, it was simply that she felt like she wanted to die, right?
Okay.
Okay, there we go. I think we're ready to go, and I agree with you that doctor is 100% biased. I'm taking myself off the screen so that we can see every piece of evidence in its entirety when it is shown. Here we go. Put this on right here. Okay, we're ready to go to trial. Let's go to trial. I got my notebook ready to write down who the next witness is and what they're doing. Let's see. I believe we're going to be on witness number 77. It's a lot of damn witnesses, isn't it? As soon as they start, I'll turn our music off so we don't have to hear that in the back. Wow. It's many, many pages of Dr. Zeisel's testimony. Lots and lots of notes over here. I was trying to capture everything I could. Yeah, there's a Dr. Spinelli, and there's one other specialist. I think it starts with an R, but I could be wrong. Okay. Yeah, we're on witness number 77. Okay. I forgot to bring my water. Damn. Yeah, they did, Cinderella. They first started talking about this, they said there was 161 witnesses. But remember, they did all those stipulations. Every time you turn around, they say, "Oh, this is a stipulation. We both agreed." Blah blah. That took out some of the witnesses they were going to talk to because they stipulated to what their previous testimony was from their grand jury or their pretrial hearings or their affidavits that they'd done or their what's that called? Hang on a minute. Oh shit. What get on? Hang on. Maybe the next show we watch will be in California. Which means we don't have to rush around at 8 o'clock in the morning to get ourselves together. So it is, come on, y'all. It is 8:17. Let's go to court. We are ready to go to court over here. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. All right. Does any of us think that Lindsay will take the stand? You know what? I do not think she will because it would be stupid if she did. That is a defense's worst nightmare is when the defendant takes the stand. Start talking about certain things. It opens the door for the prosecutor in cross to ask them things they would not be able to ask them had they not taken the stand. So a defense attorney will tell you, do not take the stand, even though you have the right to, and they tell you the reason why, because of what happens with prosecution. Somebody's out there running down the road this morning. I'm like, oh my God, how can you get up and run at 8 o'clock in the morning? They're probably 30 years younger, that's why, right? Oh, wow. Oh, thank you. You agree? Thank you, Cinderella. Yeah. I mean, what do they always say? Well, you better have your defense attorney better tell you not to testify because if you do, he's a fool. I don't think she will either, right? Right. We're having this while we wait. As soon as they begin talking, which I'll be able to hear that in my left ear from my earbud, I will turn this music off so we can get to the trial. I'm just trying to give us something to listen to. Lord, let me get this. Not bad. A little jazzy music. water's hard to open. Me too. Me too. Because she's in a hospital and she's on medication currently. Even though there was testimony that in the records at that hospital where she's currently at, that they had discussed removing the medications because she had improved so much. But here's the thing, I can hear her defense saying, oh, no. She's keep taking them. Because if she's cured now, they're not going to believe that she was ever legally not responsible or insane. So I can imagine, I can just hear him saying that to them. Yeah. Yeah, really, Oh, come on, people, let's go to court. Just on a little bit different note about YouTube itself. I know that we don't really want to ever get involved in drama. Not here, not my people, not our channel, nothing. I don't want no part of it. But I heard some things yesterday when I'm flipping through after trial was over, and I'm like, don't you people have anything better to do? Don't you have anything you can talk about that's positive, that makes a difference in this world? Why does it always have to be about other people and you trashing them? What's wrong? What's wrong? YouTube was not meant to be that. YouTube was actually meant to be for storytelling, things like that. Okay, the fix start. You get this music off.
This court is now in session. You may be seated.
Yes, please.
Now, the court today we have the matter of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. Ms. Clancy is present. She is represented by Attorney Kevin Reddington. And Commonwealth is represented by Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Sprague and Assistant District Attorney Shannon Montgomery.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, counsel. Good morning, Clancy. All right. Before we get going, can I see counsel at sidebar?
Of course. Of course we got to have sidebar first thing. Couldn't do that before. That courtroom is full. Oh boy. Okay, guys, the sound is set at 95 to make sure everybody can hear because we know there are no microphones for the defense attorneys. There is a lot of people in there, huh, Cinderella? Yeah. God. Yeah. I just want to make sure y'all can hear. I mean, I've had people come up and say, well, we came over here because we couldn't hear on such and such. And I was thinking, well, that's okay. Well, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. So what I did was I turned up the volume on the computer, I turned up the volume on the microphone, and I turned up the volume on the feed itself. I've done everything I can do to make sure y'all can hear every word clearly. Let's over here and get this done. Flavor and taste. It's like they get started. It's like they go later and later. It's 8:24 and we're still not talking. You know, right, it is a waste. It absolutely is a waste of taxpayer dollars. 100%, I agree. I mean, she knows she did it. Come on now. I see you. Hang on. I gotta do something over here, buddy. I know. Hang on. I'm gonna put this over here. Hang on a minute. Okay. Where they go. All right, I'm ready. Ooh. All right. Check this other one so I can make sure I can see everybody. Okay, there we go. Damn. What time is this? Another 4 minutes have went by since we first started this, and they still have not come back to actually go to ridiculous. Go lay down. Go lay down, Miss Thing. Go lay down. Well, Trick just come running in here. My little girl dog. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Leave her alone. You quit that. You quit that, puppy. Jack is so jealous. It's ridiculous. You quit. Quit that. You quit that. No, quit it. Lay down. Stop laying down. Go lay down. Don't need to go lay down. Quit, Jack. Quit. And here we go. Jack's got to climb in my lap. He has to be up here too. All right, hang on. Okay, hang on. I gotta get a chair, guys. I've got to get a chair. This dog is gonna drive me crazy doing this. Okay, there you go. You wanna sit down right there? There. All right, look. You can look around right there. See? That's all there is. There's nothing there. Quit. Quit. Shit. Oh, come on, court. Let's go. You cut that out. Go lay down. Go lay down. Okay, there they go. Go lay down. You gotta go lay down, babies. Go lay down. No, I'm not picking you up right now. Go lay down. Okay, we're ready. Sometimes when you do that, oh, I see. I got it now. Okay. All right. What's that one there? There we go. I'll just leave that right there in case something pops up in the corner so we don't have to see it. Cover up whatever we can, right? Of course. Yeah. They might as well say, hey, y'all, we're going to start at 9:30 in the morning because it's about 9:30 by the time we get going every time. Unbelievable. I'll tell you one thing. Now, this is going back many, many years, but when I worked at the district attorney's office, we had 3 district courts over there in that county. This is in Texas. They started right on time. They expected everybody in that courtroom 5 minutes before they were going to call a trial. They were very, very strict. There was no willy-nilly stuff. My favorite judge, she was the most strict judge. And a lot of people are like, why do you like her so much? It's because she is so on point. You don't make mistakes. I mean, she was very regimented, and I like that. You know, especially in a courtroom, everything was to the law. Just made the trial run so smoothly, just smoothly. Loved her, just loved her. In fact, I'm going to check her record. I don't think she ever had a retrial. I don't think she did. Let me check. Let's see. I'll go here and check this on Chat GPT. Okay. Oh, I see. It's trying to correct my spelling. Okay. Okay, I have the answer right here. Hang on, Leslie. Let me put this up here. Okay. So Cinderella says, "Oh, Jack needs. He does need his co-host chair, girl. I show what you sent me to Ronnie last night. He goes, that will not hold up with Jack. He's too heavy for that." I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, Jack's too big for that." I was like, "Okay. I think we're gonna have to get a big old chair like for 2 people, like a sofa chair thing." That's what I think is gonna happen. Yeah. I was thinking last night that even before I was given meds, I never once thought about harming my kids. I thought about harming myself. Oh, Leslie, that makes me sad to hear that. It does. Bless you. But I understand, you know. My husband did ask me, yeah, sorry you dealt with that. Yes. My husband did ask me, have you ever taken antidepressants? And I told him, I said, honey, you don't know what my medications are. But, you know, because I am in pain management, it is from the fall down the stairs. My husband had this massive back surgery, which is why I have not worked since I was 55 years old. That's the honest truth. I had to retire at 55 because I could not go back to work after I had this surgery. But anyway, the whole thing is when you're in pain management, and a lot of you people know this, this causes depression as well. When you are living in pain every single day, every step you take, just trying to manage every single day, you become depressed. I've never thought about taking my own life. I've never thought about taking my children's life. The only thing I can say is I can remember just being unable to function because I'm like, I know if I get up, it's going to hurt. Every step I take, it's going to hurt. They never give you enough pain medication to help you because people have addicted and abused the system so bad that the people who actually need it cannot really get help. So you're just left living over here, and this is why a lot of people in pain management also are on antidepressants. They are a beautiful thing when they are used correctly. Now, I was talking about my favorite judge over there. Yeah, let's see. Sprinkle says, you know, Leslie, I can understand that. Bless your heart, baby. We love you. You know we do. And as mods, y'all all know you have my number. I don't care. If you need to talk to me, you call me because we are here for each other. We are here for each other. Okay? Just reach out. It's fine. I don't care if it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't care. Right? So we were talking about my favorite judge over there. And there have only been 2 records that were sent back, but they were affirmed. So she's never had a case turned over. I think that is a great record, and that's because she's so thorough. I just love it, right? Okay. Pam says, I'm usually in pain every day. I know, Pam. I know. I understand. 100%. I understand that. I do. Because when you get up in the morning, what's the first thing that happens? As soon as your feet hit the floor, your back starts hurting. It does. Every step you take, your hip, your back, something hurts because it is never going to heal. You are never going to be 100% after having back surgeries, hip surgeries, that kind of thing. Now, if you've had a hip replacement, that's very different. But you cannot have your whole back replaced. It doesn't work like that, you know? I was very, very afraid of having back surgery because I had remembered my grandparents and my mom always saying, "Now, don't you ever get that back surgery. Like, it just made my back worse, blah, blah, blah." I mean, I've heard all this stuff. I was so afraid. I waited too long because then what happened was my left leg developed some drop foot. Now, drop foot is not curable, okay? You can't fix that. So when my doctor noticed that I was starting to struggle with this drop foot thing, he did some testing, and oh my God, if you have never had this nerve test, if they suggested you, let's do this nerve test, blah, blah, I don't remember what the name of it was, they stick this probe in your leg, and then they stimulate this nerve thing. I was screaming, it hurt so bad. I was screaming. The doctor was like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "This freaking hurts, get that shit off me," and I walked out that door. I was like, So I told my doctor, I said, "Don't you ever suggest anything like that again because the answer will be no. I mean, you're already in pain, but you want to put me through a test that makes it even worse? What's wrong with you?" Right? I've lived with chronic pain for 10 years, and it's absolute worst some days. You just don't think you can do it anymore. I understand that, Sprinkle. I do. But you know what? Here's the thing. No matter, it's only people with a very, very strong mind can tell ourselves, and we do. We lie to ourselves every single day. We do. We get up and we lie to ourselves. Hey, I'm going to go do this, this, and this today. And you get up, you get started, but guess what? A lot of times you don't finish it. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because of your attention deficit, whatever. It's because, you know what? The pain versus the result of whatever it is that you think you need to do, it's one is greater than the other, right? And so a lot of people don't finish things. In order for me to mop this entire house, because I don't have a maid here, I do all the work myself. I literally have to take extra pain medication because as soon as I go up those stairs, I know that once I come back down those stairs, I'm not going to be able to do anything else for the rest of the day. So we do the bottom half first, and we do the second, we do the upstairs last. But now that nobody lives up there because my son's gone to college and there's nobody ever goes up there, it's a whole lot less cleaning and it's a whole lot easier. Thank you, Jesus. I miss him every day, but it is a lot of work. Yeah, sprinkled. Yeah. Okay. Look, guys, it's 8:41. What is taking so long? Let's go to court, people. Shit. What in the world? Let me check and make sure it's not us. I know it's not us, though, because nobody else is in trial. Let me see. Yeah. All right. Yeah. It's not us. They're just not in trial yet. What is this? All right. Let's stick with this one. Okay, I've checked a few stations. It's not us. They are just still in whatever the hell it is they're doing. Okay, good. So as we're sitting over here, I'm sure people that watch us, I'm sure y'all are flipping around to every station. Don't bother. They have not restarted yet. They're still out on it's not a recess. They're having their morning sessions, what I'm going to call it. And they've not returned yet. Yeah, there you go. I know that y'all know that that's right. Just like Leslie and Sprinkled Donut and Cinderella and Pam Fogel, y'all all know we do just keep pushing through because you know what? We have to. Anybody who thinks that you can just sit down and stop living just because you've had, a major medical problem, or you're not living in the real world. You're just not. You cannot stop. You have to keep going. I'll tell you something that happened to my father. And y'all are going to say, oh, that's not true, but it's 100% true. This is 100% true. My dad was elderly when he married this woman, and she would go to Mexico and get her medications all the time. So without a prescription, they went to Mexico one time, and he got this prescription of medicine. And it had a warning that says, if this happens, seek medical help now. Okay? Well, it's hot already. Yeah, Sprinkled, it is hot already. Everyone yes, they do. They certainly do. All right. And 105, yes, yeah, Sprinkled Donut, that's freaking hot. It is hot. Absolutely. Anyway, so they go to Mexico and they get this medicine. Well, he was driving down the road in Houston, Texas one day after going to Mexico, and he called me, he goes, something's just not right. He goes, I don't think I can see out of my left eye. And I'm like, Dad, pull the hell over, right? So he pulls over, and my brother goes to get him. Okay. So we figured out that he had some kind of little eye stroke. Well, I think it was from the medication he got from Mexico without a prescription. And I'm going to tell you what it was. And okay, just hear me out, because he was an older man and he married a woman that was younger than him. And so he thought he needed those little blue pills, right? So I guess about a month later, he got up one day and he was like, my vision's just not right now. I can't see out of my left eye or my other eye. But all of a sudden he had another stroke in his other eye. So all of a sudden he is blind. He can kind of see, but not really. He couldn't drive anymore. That was the end of his driving. Now, he owned a construction company. He did rather well. He had a farm. Anyway, he ended up hiring somebody to just drive him everywhere during the day before he decided to stop working. So eventually, the doctor just told him, he started going through this prescription list of what he had been taking, what he was prescribed versus what he'd been taking. And when they had the discussion on that, he told my dad right then, I'm allergic to a lot of medicines. It's very hard for my doctor to give me that. Oh, really? Wow, Pam, that's interesting. The doctor told him, why didn't you call me and ask me about this before you went to Mexico and got this? Because he started reading through a lot of things about this medication. My dad said, because I was embarrassed. Okay, so he loses his eyesight due to embarrassment about asking about a medication that is so heavily prescribed to elderly men in the United States. And I thought that was very, very sad. because all he had to do was talk to his doctor about this first. So that's just a little warning about that. Because, you know, the medications they're getting in Mexico may not be regulated. They may not be exactly what they say they are. They may have more of one item, more of one type of filler than another. It might have more, like the prescriptions are just not, if it says 7.5 milligrams of whatever, it might have more ingredient of one type than it does the other. So it's not exact. And that's why you don't want to do that. You don't want to be doing that. Okay. Just a little story about that. So don't ever be embarrassed. Go talk to your doctor. You can talk to your doctor about anything. Just know that. There's no reason to be embarrassed. Damn it, y'all. It's 8:46 already. What in the hell are they doing? I'm losing my patience over here, you know, waiting on them to come on. I know we don't have a choice because if we want to watch this trial, we're going to sit here and wait. But good God, you know. Yeah. So the old wives' tale is true. It will make you go blind. Hell yes, it's true. Really? That's so funny. That's very true. That is true. It will make you go blind. You need to be careful with that. No, I seriously believe that had he talked to his doctor and maybe talked about with his current medical conditions, the different types of medication that they have for certain things like that, he might have been given something that did not cause him to have the strokes in his eyes. He had high blood pressure. He just had high cholesterol. He had a lot of things that typical older people do. Especially if you have a bad diet, right? And so, because it didn't matter what we said to him. He's going to do what he's going to do. You know, he was 80. He was 89 when he passed away. So. And you know, when you think about your parents passing, both of my parents are gone, so I'm basically like an orphan, you know, because I don't have any parents left. And the thing about it was, whenever my mom passed away before my dad did, and they had been divorced for many, many years. But I remember when my dad was over in, what happened, this is the weird story. So my dad was over at this weekend place while he lived with one of my sisters because they didn't want to put him in nursing home or whatever. And that's fine. We all agreed on it. We paid for caretakers and all these other things. Well, she wanted to take a weekend off to go somewhere. So we put him in this little respite place. And it's like a nursing home place, but it's for rest. Well, so we all took turns, like my other sister and I would take turns going over there and sitting with him while he's at this respite place because we wanted to make sure he was taken care of. Because we know in places like that, they don't always get this full attention like they would at home. Yeah, any medicines that affect other parts of the body sure don't need. Right. You're right about that, girl. You're right about that. We would go sit with him because we wanted to make sure that he was taken care of at the respite place. Well, I was sitting there with him one day, and I noticed my dad was like different. It's like he was not really engaging. He wouldn't drink any water. He wouldn't eat any food. He just stopped engaging. He just was, anyway, so I went and got the nurse. I said, hey, can you come down here, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh. And I said, what do you mean, oh? And she goes, yeah, poor dad, right? She was like, this seems to be like we're at the end of life. I said, what do you mean we're at the end of life? What are you talking about? He's like, my dad's going to live forever. What's wrong with you? And so she said, let's do this. She said, I noticed that he's having a lot of, like he wasn't alert, but you could see he was having some kind of muscle spasm. Something was happening there. She said, do you mind if I give him some morphine? I said, go right ahead. Make him comfortable. Whatever this is, make him comfortable. I don't want him suffering at all. There's no reason for that. So she did. She gave him a little morphine. And so then they came back and they checked later. And she said, listen, he's not coming back out of this. I said, what? And she goes, he's not coming back out of this. So I let my brothers and sisters know. But, you know, they were all at work. And I didn't have a job. I mean, because, you know, I stopped working years ago. So I stayed with him the whole time. And I'm telling you, from the time that he really stopped being responsive, it literally was like less than 24 hours and he was gone. But I'll remember this for the rest of my life. When he passed away, I was holding his hand. And that was beautiful. Anyway. Ooh, 92 in Oregon, that's hot, girl. Leslie, what you gonna do? That is hot. 92. My son wanted, my older son wanted to move his company to Oregon. And at one time he went and looked at property and all this. And I was thinking, oh my God, no, you can't move that far away from me. What's wrong with you? But the reason why he didn't do it is because the property that he really, really liked, the bank would not finance because they built this house out there without any kind of a permit. And it would not pass any kind of an inspection. And I said, well, that was God telling you, you don't need to move, baby. You don't need to move there. Oh my, come on, what the hell? Y'all, it's almost 9 o'clock here, which would be 10 o'clock there. The people in the gallery over there in the courtroom are going, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? What's taking y'all so long? So, did they forget about us? No, they didn't forget about us. Damn it. Look at this. I know, we're gonna see. I just don't understand. Right? That's old stuff, yeah. Make it right here. Okay. But we had scheduled for my son to be removed from life support, and I slept with him in his hospital bed the night before. It means so much. It does, Sprinkle, it does. And I'm sorry that happened to you. But Sprinkle and I have talked about this many times. We both have lost children. That's another bond that we have together. Joining the club of people who have lost their children, and this should have never happened, sucks. Yeah, Sprinkles, yeah. The one thing I do know about this is whenever this was happening with my dad, I know that my other brothers and sisters could not sit there and hold his hand. They just weren't strong enough. But I had already experienced a few losses of my own. My first husband was killed by a drunk driver when I was 21 years old. And then I lost my child, and then my mother had passed away, and so my father was last. So there it was, just many, many deaths in a short period of time. So I just know they could not handle that themselves. They were just not strong enough. I think God let us, all these kids, all my dad's children, do different parts of the end of his life. I was there to help him pass over, and they were there to do other things. Oh, they're coming back, guys. Look, here we go. Let's go to court.
We're going to be in a short recess, and we're going to bring the jury back.
Oh my God.
Call the next witness, okay?
A short recess. Now, Lindsay, we're looking at you. We are looking at you, bitch. Right there. Let's get a picture of that right there. Let's capture that. The look on her face like, what? What's wrong over here? Let's capture that right there. She looks crazy, don't she? Save. Okay. Damn, this pisses me off. Maybe they're gonna talk. Maybe we'll get to hear. No, I guess not. Well, all right, guys. I guess we'll just go get our coffee and our popcorn and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry his birthday is coming up, but it's okay, Sprinkled. It's okay. You can get emotional. You have every right to be emotional. You do. I understand. I do. Maybe we shouldn't be talking about those things, but it's just part of life. It's just something that happens. This is like the Nolan Wells case. This is a perfect example of this. Nolan Wells' mother is so upset, and I understand. She does not believe there's any way her son could have drowned out there at Horn Island. But absolutely he could have drowned out there. The undertow is extremely bad on one end of that island. Everybody knows it. But I guess when you are drinking and having a good time, you're not, and it's hot as hell, and you've been out there all day doing this, you're not thinking about all the things that could go wrong. Sometimes our children just put themselves in places that they don't realize is going to end their life. It is an accident. This happens. And I know that Nolan Wells' mother wants somebody to be responsible for his choice. But unfortunately, there's nobody that can be responsible for his choice except him. And it's just part of her grieving process. And so she started all these other things into this. When the final autopsy and the final toxicology report is released, which has not happened yet, because the state of Mississippi is one of those odd states that anytime somebody passes away by just not a natural cause and not an actual, physical accident, when they can't tell what happened to them, they do an inquiry. That's what they do. And that's why they're having this grand jury thing. It's just an inquiry. It's not to hold somebody responsible. It's not to decide to charge anybody. It's just called an inquiry, and it's part of the state of Mississippi's ME's rules. This is just what they do over there. So all of the speculation that's all over YouTube about this needs to stop. If they understood the rules of Mississippi, they would understand what's going on over there. Okay, hang on. I'm getting emotional, Sprinkle Donut says, and then it's okay, Cinderella, it is okay. And then she goes, my dad passed away in 2013, and before he died, my mom and I were there 24/7. We were the only ones who did this. My mom had passed in 2024. Oh, Pam, I'm sorry to hear that, but I understand. I know that it's not that the other kids don't love their parents. It's just that some people cannot be there and watch somebody pass over like that. They just physically, emotionally, and mentally cannot do it. I was almost relieved that none of my brothers and sisters were there when this happened, because the one thing I could not handle is trying to support them as they became totally, just the whole emotional part of it. I could not support them at that moment, and they would have expected me to do that because I was dealing with my own emotional. I know my older sister, when she got there, after he passed away, I let them know, hey, Dad's passed away, blah, blah. What I said to my sister was, I said, hey, this is over. And she goes, what do you mean this is over? I said, well, Dad's done now. And she goes, what'd Dad do? I said, Dad passed away. She goes, oh my God. And anyway, she shows up over there, right? She goes, I'm glad you were able to be there with him. Me too. I had been with, Cinderella goes, I had been with him. But when she finally got there, and she was watching me. She just kept watching me because I was not breaking down and crying and being upset and all of that. I mean, they were like, I know that some people thought I did not care. It's not that. It's just that I had already let go. Because I watched him go, and I was, I saw when he passed. I saw that moment right there. I had already dealt with it. I mean, I was already like, okay, he's gone. When they showed up, they were actually having to deal with the reality that he's gone. So it was just very different for me than it was for them, I think. What do y'all think the recess is about? What do you think's going on in court today? Do you think a witness is late? Do you think they're having a feed problem for a witness? What's going on? Is the jury's late? What's going on? Something's going on over there, but I don't know what it is. You know what? Let's go ahead and look at Reddit real quick while we wait. There's a lot of information that came up on Reddit overnight. Hang on. All right. If you're in the bushes, come on in. We don't bite. We'd love to see your face today. Anyway, let's look at Reddit right now. Okay. Duxbury. Okay. So there was something did anyone see this? This was talking about the therapist, this Thorndike lady that came on, that they tried to use yesterday, but then the judge said no, and he should have said no. This is what people are saying about this Thorndike lady. Society is in free fall. The next one says she's really impressed with herself. And yes, she was. The statements that she made about, that she summers at Cape Cod because she's fortunate enough or whatever she said. I thought, well, that's really something to say in a courtroom, isn't it? Imagine seeing this lady for therapy. Hell no. I don't believe that she could help me at all. And then the next one says, bro, your mental health will tank. As far as I'm concerned, if people are normal, her career should be over and she should never get the license to practice as a therapist. They're talking about this Thorndike chick. Literally, who is sarcastic on a witness stand? She was sarcastic yesterday. She certainly was. Of all the times in her life, this is the most time to not joke around and it's time to be serious. She obviously was serious with the comments. Okay. I don't watch TikTok and I don't want to be starting now. That's kind of funny. I'm not going to say the things I want to say. This is people talking about that Thorndike lady. Let's go back over here to the next string. Let's see. All right. Prosecution needs to show this image. Oh, shit. They sure do. The prosecution needs to show this image taken on day 11 of the trial of Lindsay and KR to the jury during their closing arguments. And it is a picture of Reddington with, he's got his arm on her shoulder. She has his arm around his waist. And they're both smiling for the damn camera. Okay? Blow it up and put it on a huge poster board. This image was taken at the courthouse on trial day 11, taken by Reddington's wife and posted to her TikTok account. Display it next to another image of Lindsay looking sullen and distressed on the same exact day of court when she was in front of the jury. Show she wears a mask and she wears it all. Reddington has made it seem that like Lindsay is just an outward extreme distress and trauma every day throughout the course of this trial. Show what a liar he is. Edit. This image is not AI or fake. Reddington's wife's TikTok screen name is Deb Reddington Realtor Mask. This image is posted directly to her account and the TikTok, we're going to go pull that up. Hang on a minute. Let's go pull up this TikTok account. Hang on, guys. We're going to pull this up and look for ourselves. Here we go. Let's go to TikTok here. Whoops, not now. I'm going to go find this lady's account. All right. Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah. We got to find it now. I'm so glad I saw that. This might change your mind, folks. This might change your mind right here. Let me see. What is her name? Let me find this lady over here. Reddington. Her name is actually. Yeah. Stop. You can stop. All right. What was this lady's name, guys? Let me pull it back up. Deb Reddington. Okay, Deb Reddington. There it is, right there. Okay, let me pull this up. Okay. Now, let's look at the latest. Oh, listen, y'all. Since that has came out, that is no longer available on her TikTok. It is not there anymore. In fact, most of everything she has is gone. How about that, guys? How about that? I bet her husband said, "What are you doing?" Let's see. Yeah. Okay, let's see what it says about Lindsay Clancy over here. This is on day 16. Hang on. All right, let me show you something. Oh my gosh, I don't want him to come back, but let me take really quick to show you something right quick. Hang on. Just a second. We'll come right back to it, but I'm going to show you what I found today. Yeah, this is Mr. Reddington talking, and yes, it's really loud because it has to be. I'm sorry.
Posted all the things saying that that's not right. She worked there for 9 years, and she's the one who set the record straight. I looked for her and find her. My PI finally found her, and she said that we were AI.
How is it Lindsay handle
I'm sorry here.
That I don't know.
One more thing though, I have to ask you about this. The mortal sin question. What was your reaction?
Everybody has their own style. I don't criticize other attorneys.
For your time.
How about that now?
How you doing? I got my man Bruce Secretary.
Good. Oh, good. Bruce is here.
All right. I just wanted to show you that right quick. Just wanted to show you that. Here we go. Let's get back to court. All right. All right. Here we go. All right. I don't know if y'all heard that or not. But anyway, let's go. Let's see. Yeah, coffee. It's time for coffee. It's been an hour. He's getting so much attention too. He sure is. And I agree, Sprinkle. He is. You know, listen, he's an old man. He's been practicing law a long time. His wife is much younger. Of course, you know that, right? It is typical of these old attorneys to get these young wives. It's very typical. Because I'll tell you the one thing I know about humans. If a human thinks that the grass is greener on the other side, what do you think they're going to do? They step over to the other side. They don't think about the consequences of long-term actions like that. They just run on over there to get that other piece of grass. Yeah. Of course it is. Of course it is, Sprinkle. You're right. It is, isn't it? Yeah. Shocking, right? Yeah. Now, I will say this. When my dad got remarried, okay, so my mom and dad divorced many, many years ago, and then my dad remarried somebody else. She had a couple of kids. My dad adopted these kids. They were my little brothers. So we ended up with the Brady Bunch. There were 3 girls and 3 boys. Then the next thing, okay, my stepmother passed away with pancreatic cancer. I believe it was 2011, 2000. I can't remember 2000. No, I'm sorry. It was 2001. In 2001, she passed away with cancer. My dad waited many years to get married again. And the next time he got married, this lady was 20 years younger than he was, right? They just want their money, you think, right? They do just want their money. So this lady was 20 years younger than my dad. And how my dad met her was he would go to this little Mexican restaurant all the time that this lady owned this little restaurant. And she was just a good cook. My dad was like, my God, this is, you're just a wonderful cook. Anyway, they kind of formed a little bond and he married her. Later on, after they got married, it was maybe 4 or 5 months, my dad started noticing that a lot of money was coming out of his account. He was like, what are you doing? Blah, blah. She was cycling money off of his account and putting it someplace else. She was stealing from him. Basically, she was stealing from him. Well, that ended their marriage. They got divorced. That was that. So my dad was like, she only married him because she knew he owned the farm and she knew he owned this construction company. It was totally for the money. I don't think she ever loved my father. Period. Anyway, here we go. It's time for Lindsay Clancy's trial. Let's go, folks. Let's go. That has always kind of not set well with me. It just didn't. But let's keep reading about Lindsay Clancy. That was interesting. Let's see. Listen to this. I've been neutral, leaning towards sympathetic, but today something shifted. It was in her eyes. I thought the defense had been doing a good job and had a really solid case for a while. The DA has been really awkward and clumsy at times, but I've been keeping an open mind to any conclusions. Yesterday, I thought defense had it 100% until they brought out Dr. Zeisel. Remember? I told y'all Dr. Zeisel was damning. We all know his name has been mentioned in a few times and confirmed on the stand that he is a friend of Reddington's. Something about the way he looked at the jury while talking took my trust away. It felt like he was another defense attorney, a mouthpiece for Reddington, to testify, to stand to some lies by omission and very corrupt plans. Oh, here we go. I'll read this later. All right, let's go to court. He turned it up all the way, honey.
Counsel,
Ooh, wow.
the jury.
Okay, it's on 100, guys. I need to clean these glasses. They're bad. Get these lenses fixed. Oh my goodness, let's go. I need my water. It is 9:10 a.m., which means it's 10:10 a.m. in Massachusetts. An hour and 10 minutes late. I'm going to put those in fixed. Come on in, enjoy the show with us this morning. Keep an open mind. We might hear something to change our mind today. We are 60% toward saying. Look at her face. Yes, honey, we know what you did.
Hey, all persons having anything to do with the Honorable William Sullivan, Justice of the Superior Court, now sitting in Plymouth, therefore the Commonwealth. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, court is now in session. Please be seated.
Today we have a continuation of the jury trial in the matter of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. Ms. Clancy, she is represented by Attorney Kevin Reddington. The Commonwealth is represented by Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Sprague and Assistant District Attorney Shannon Hutton.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning. Nice to see you again. I know I just spoke to you probably about 10 minutes ago. But again, I want to ask you those questions, then we'll talk a little bit about what our schedule is today for the rest of the week. All right, so first question, has any member of the jury read, seen, heard, or overheard anything from any source about any aspect of this case?
Be careful, Leslie.
Be fair and impartial as a juror. Next, is there any other serious matter or concern bearing on your service as a juror that anybody needs to bring to my attention at this time? Again, thank you for following those instructions. And then in regards to our schedule today, you're allowed to kind of roll your eyes because I'm going to say we're going to have kind of a short day today.
Again?
But as I talked to you yesterday about an issue that has nothing to do with any of the attorneys in this case. All right, it's just something we're going to work out, and I anticipate it will be worked out so that tomorrow you should count on a lengthier day. All right, I talked to counsel earlier.
So on Friday it's a full day.
In regards to the schedule timeline, we are still, if not on schedule, still ahead of schedule. All right. And this delay that we may have a little bit this afternoon won't affect that. All right. So I just kind of wanted to let you know that I appreciate. I know you came in here this morning. It's going to be a short day, but also gear up for okay. With that,
Stop that damn barking, buddy.
because I told you it's got nothing to do with any of the attorneys, but it's also or the parties. So you're not to speculate about what this might be. It's also you're not to hold it against either of the parties in regards to this. All right, if you're going to hold it against anybody, hold it against me. All right. So with that, we're going to return now to the evidence in this case. And Attorney Reddington.
Thank you. Sheila Kavanaugh, please.
I am not sure who Sheila Kavanaugh is. I don't think I've heard her name. Have y'all? I know, so bad. You're not allowed to walk down our street. What are you doing? I wonder what this defense witness is all about. I wonder if she's a nurse. Well, she looks like a professional of some sort. What do y'all think? I don't think we've heard of her yet.
Good morning.
I'm going to make sure I spell her name correctly. And this is witness number 77 in this case.
Good morning.
Morning, Your Honor.
All right, I just ask you to speak into that microphone and keep your voice up so the jury can hear you. Attorney Reddington.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you tell us your name and spell your last name, please?
My name is Sheila Kavanaugh, Cavanaughh.
And what town do you live in?
I live in the town of Belmont, Massachusetts.
And what are you doing for work now?
I am a board certified chaplain at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston.
Okay.
I didn't know that there were board certified chaplains. What does that mean?
Well, to become board certified, you need minimally a master's degree in theology or divinity. You need to complete 1,600 hours of training post your master's degree. 1,200 of those hours are occur in a clinical setting, and 400 of those hours are in a classroom setting where we study various disciplines: psychology, sociology, philosophy, theology, and ethics. Beyond that training, we need to acquire 2,000 hours of additional clinical training before we can even apply for board certification. And we have to demonstrate mastery of 30 competencies before we go to a national board and they make the assessment. I need an ecclesiastical endorsement. And in my case, that was from the Archdiocese of Boston, from Cardinal Sean O'Malley.
And before you obtained the board certification in your education to allow you to be a chaplain, what did you do for work?
Prior to becoming a chaplain, which is a second career for me, I was a senior vice president at Fidelity Investments in Boston.
And how long were you senior VP at Fidelity?
16 years.
And are you married?
I am.
You have a family?
I do. My husband and I are the parents of 4 adopted children. When I was pursuing my master's degree at Boston College, it was a 3-year master's, but it took me 5 years because we adopted our 4th child while I was in graduate school. She was a 14-year-old girl from Bogota, Colombia.
And how long have you been working now as a chaplain at Brigham and Women's Hospital?
7 years.
In the course of your duties as a chaplain at Brigham and Women's Hospital, did circumstances bring you in contact?
Yes, they did.
Can you tell the jurors what happened?
I arrived on the morning of Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. I arrived at approximately 8:30 that morning because I was there to relieve the overnight chaplain who was carrying the pager. I was taking over. Arrived that morning, she said to me, "Did you hear the news?" And
So sustain.
So you got to object, so you can't say what someone told you, okay? That's called hearsay?
Okay.
So I can say, as a result of the conversation with that person, what happened?
I was summoned to the director of spiritual care's office. And
you had a conversation with her?
I did.
All right. And as a result of that conversation, what did you do?
I went to Unit 8C in the Tower building of Brigham to meet with Lindsay Clancy.
And what time of day was this?
Roughly between 8:30 and 9:30 that morning.
And when you went in to see Lindsay, what did you observe?
Well, the unit itself was filled with law enforcement officers, both outside the door of the unit. There was Brigham security, but the unit itself was flooded. There were people from Plymouth County, Boston City Police, Brigham Security. So I had to make my way through concentric circles of law enforcement to even get to the room. I was permitted to see Lindsay, although she could not speak at that time.
And what was her condition that you observed?
She was dressed in medical armor. She had tubes. She was intubated. She had bandages. She had a neck brace. She was just covered and layered in equipment that enabled her to breathe.
I'm showing you Exhibit 121 and asking, this may be South Shore, it could be Brigham and Women's, but is this indicative of what she appeared to be when you first saw her?
That looks like it's from South Shore because yes.
Does she have the same?
Similar.
Very similar?
Very similar.
Like that?
Yes, very similar.
Did you see her again on another date?
I did. I saw her the next day. Again, she could not speak. She was intubated as well. That was the first week that she was hospitalized.
When was the next time that you saw her?
The next time I saw her was the following week. I have a calendar here of my visits. I saw her on Tuesday, January 31st, and she had been extubated at that point so she could speak.
So the tube had been removed. She was able to communicate, and that was on January 31st?
I believe she was extubated the weekend of the 28th, but I didn't work that weekend, so I saw her on Tuesday, the 31st.
All right. Tell the jurors what you observed and what any conversation you had with Lindsay on the 31st. And let me ask, how long had it been that they removed the tube?
Perhaps a day or two.
A day or two. Okay. Tell the jurors what she said to you.
She continued to look like the photograph you just saw. She was covered, tubes everywhere, the neck brace. Her emotional state was very neutral, a flat affect. But I remember vividly the first thing she said to me. Now, she had heard me for a couple of days. We had been praying together. And so when I went in on Tuesday, the 31st, she said to me as I held her hand to comfort her, "I am so glad my children are safe."
Was there any other conversation that you had with her?
I replied theologically to Lindsay, and I said, "Lindsay, your children are safe in heaven with God." And I held her hand throughout that conversation, and we prayed for them.
Did she make any other statements to you?
She did. She alluded to having heard a voice, and the voice, according to Lindsay, told her that if she did not follow the command, neither she nor her children would be safe.
And did she indicate whether it was a male voice, a female voice, loud, soft?
She alluded to the fact that it was a male voice and it was persistent.
Any further conversation that you recall about that, not about general things, you know?
That came up several times. I visited Lindsay minimally 14 times while she was hospitalized at the Brigham, and the voice conversation came up several times during several of our visits.
Now, after Lindsay was transferred or cleared to go from Brigham and Women's Hospital, did she go to another facility?
She did. She went to Spalding Rehabilitation Hospital.
And do you know when that was?
That was roughly late February, perhaps around the 23rd.
And did you continue to see Lindsay at Spalding Rehab?
I did.
Do you know when she left Spalding Rehab?
In the late March, early April time frame, perhaps.
Okay. Now, Brigham and Women's Hospital in Spalding Rehab are the same umbrella of hospitals, is that right?
They are. So Brigham and Women's Hospital and Spalding Rehab are under the Mass General Brigham complex. So for me to visit Lindsay in Spalding, I was still within the same hospital complex, and her psychiatrist at Spalding, as well as the chaplains, advised me to continue.
You can't say what anybody told you.
Oh.
So when she was discharged from Spalding,
Who was her psychiatrist?
where did she go?
She went to Tewksbury State Hospital.
And fair to say that that would be back around February. It's been a little more than 3 years, 3.5.
Yes.
Is that correct? Now, when you saw her in Spalding Rehab and in Brigham and Women's, you were acting in the course of your job. Is that right?
That's correct.
So you're being compensated, you're getting your paycheck and that type of thing.
Yes.
Who's paying her?
How many times have you seen Lindsay at Tewksbury Hospital?
Perhaps 200 times.
Tell the jury why you continue to see her.
200 times.
Sustained. So, can you tell us how often on a weekly basis you would see her at Tewksbury?
Yes. When Lindsay was admitted to Tewksbury State Hospital, I continued to see her on a weekly basis. We had built up a very comfortable, respectful rapport. And I felt it was in her best interest to continue that as she healed. She was still in deep grief. She was suffering.
Sustained.
So,
That you'll be stricken.
so did
Thank
she
you.
express anything about her children and their loss over that period of 200 times that you saw her thereabouts in Tewksbury?
No, overruled.
Yes.
Other jurors?
Lindsay
City
talks
Leslie, I do
freely
too.
about her children. She loves them deeply. She carries immense grief.
Overruled.
We're going to have a sidebar soon, I promise you.
And has that continued to your observation?
It continues presently.
When was the last time that you saw Lindsay in Tewksbury?
Last week,
Just prior to the trial starting.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
that's it.
All right, Kamala.
Thank you. Excuse me. Good morning.
Good morning.
This should be a good cross.
You were talking about on January 25th, 2023, when you first saw Lindsay in direct examination, and you said that there were a lot of police officers in the area, correct?
Correct.
But you mentioned that some of them were security personnel from the hospital, correct?
Correct.
And you're aware that the security personnel for the hospital don't work for the state police, the Duxbury Police, or the Plymouth County DA's office, correct?
Correct.
So they're separate and apart from law enforcement, correct?
Yes.
And then are you also aware that on January 25th, 2023, there was a
Amen.
search warrant being executed to collect evidence from the defendant and from the belongings that she had at the hospital?
No, I was not aware of that.
Were you aware that that collection of the search warrant required state police and personnel from the crime lab to be present for the collection of evidence?
I was not aware of that.
Were you aware that following that, at any given time, there were only two officers, either Duxbury Police, State Police, or Plymouth County Sheriffs, at her room, the defendant, at any given time?
I do recall that.
And they were stationed outside of her room, correct, in the hallway?
Yes.
So that the only time you saw this large amount of officers present was on the 25th, when there were security from the hospital and search warrants being executed, correct?
Perhaps.
Now, you mentioned that on January 31st, 2023, you spoke to the defendant and she told you that she heard a voice telling her that if she did not follow the command, neither she nor her children would be safe, correct?
Correct.
You wrote very detailed notes that are contained in the Brigham and Women's Hospital records regarding your interactions with Lindsay Clancy, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And in all of these notes that detail every time you interacted with her, you never once wrote that she told you she heard a voice or what that voice said, correct?
Correct.
And you also said that this voice, talking about the voice, came up in several of your meetings, correct?
Correct.
And you never once
Me
wrote
too,
about any
Sprinkle.
of it in any of your very detailed notes, correct?
Well, chaplain notes are not verbatim transcripts of patient conversations. I'm not there to evaluate the patient. I'm there to bear witness to their suffering.
Okay, but the question was,
Bear
did not
witness to their
document those
suffering.
statements in your notes, correct?
Correct.
But you did document some other statements in those notes, correct?
Perhaps.
For example, on
Damn it.
February 6th, 2023, in a note that you wrote regarding your interaction with the defendant, you said that, or you wrote, Lindsay welcomed the visit and shared her fears of, quote, not being able to walk again, end quote. She continued to express her fears of how her inability to walk may make her vulnerable to others in the future. Do you recall writing that?
Yes.
Do you recall writing on February 9th, 2023, that the defendant was sitting in a chair adjacent to her bed and appeared to be visibly engaged, energized, and hopeful than in previous visits? Do you recall that?
Yes.
You also wrote in that note, Lindsay spoke hopefully of being discharged when the time arrives to Spalding, correct?
Correct.
And then in February 13th, 2023, you wrote in your note that Lindsay also expressed hopefulness in relation to her physical progress. She feels she has gained considerable physical strength and agility despite an inability to move her legs. She admitted that she feels, quote, deserving of this, end quote, in light of recent events. Do you remember writing that?
Yes.
Do you remember on February 16th, 2023, that you wrote in a note that the defendant expressed hopefulness with the news of her anticipated discharge to Spalding and seemed uplifted that she would be cared for in a facility with an excellent reputation?
Yes.
Do you recall writing on February 16th, 2023, that Paula, the defendant's mother, and Lindsay, the defendant, were playing a card game as they communed quietly, and that Lindsay expressed hopefulness with the news of her anticipated discharge to Spalding and seemed uplifted?
Yes.
And again, you've got all these details about her feelings and her thoughts and what she's doing, but nothing about the voices that you spoke of so many times, correct?
Correct.
And speaking of Spalding, you continued to visit her at Spalding, correct?
Yes.
In those conversations with her at Spalding, did she tell you that how in those first weeks at Spalding, part of her physical, she was working out with a yellow exercise band?
Wow.
No?
I don't recall her telling me that.
Did she tell you that during that time at Spalding, she reached out to a social worker there and asked for help filling out SSDI paperwork to get an income?
That would be beyond the scope of our conversation.
Well, how about that?
No.
Thank you.
So,
Damning.
Counsel
Very
asked
damning.
you about her filling out a form for SSDI. Were you aware of what expenses her family and were incurring as a result of her physical
Of her actions.
analysis
Of
in
her
the
action.
hospital?
From my experience with thousands of patients, I had a very clear idea of the enormous expense.
There's a difference between, as the district attorney very appropriately referred to, that your comments were about her thoughts and her appearance and her feelings. Is that correct?
Correct.
There's a difference, however, between privileged communications with a chaplain and observations of a person's feelings and thoughts, correct?
Correct.
Tell the jury what effect privileged communication has when someone talks to you personally as a chaplain.
Because I'm not a medically trained clinician, I approach patients in a vortex of trust. Some of our chaplains at the Brigham are ordained clergy. And so there's this understanding that when a patient interacts with a chaplain, the conversations are confidential.
Do you put them in medical records?
No.
No.
The words, like Lindsay indicated that she felt uplifted, I think counsel read that twice. Were those your notes, or is that what she said? Did she say I uplifted, or is that your
was
observation?
my perception of Lindsay. It was not her words.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Como?
You said you're not allowed to put the defendant's words in your medical records. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. It's not that I'm not allowed. It's an understanding, and it's a conversation that's held in confidence with the patient.
Then why are there direct quotes in these medical records from the defendant?
Well, they're not verbatim transcripts.
No, not a transcript of the whole conversation, but you put phrases in quotes. For example, on February 2023, it says Lindsay welcomed the visit and shared her fears of, quote, not being able to walk again. So those were her words in your note, in quotes, in the medical record, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
I use my best judgment.
Okay. To have these submitted, exhibit the notes of the witness in her interactions with Ms. Clancy at the...
So you guys think that was damning, good, or just a waste of time?
I have no further questions. Sorry.
All of that.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Maybe step down.
All right. Witness 78. I think it'd be Dr. Spinelli, but I'm not sure.
All right, Counsel, can I see it?
Here we go. All right. I don't believe that her testimony was worth listening to. I mean, because these are all her opinions. And again, when Lindsay spoke to her, it was about her, me. She deserved to be moved to a different place. She applied for SSDI. Did she think she's just going to walk out of the hospital someday? Here's the deal. When you are a convicted person and you are in prison or you are in a medical facility after conviction, you are not allowed to collect Social Security or SSDI. You actually belong to the state of whatever state you were convicted in. And if you were collecting something like that, they would be entitled to it because they are the ones paying for you. You're not paying for yourself. They are paying for you. So you cannot collect Social Security and be in prison. It doesn't work that way. Letitia Stouch tried that too. She was trying to collect SSDI for mental health and was going to have it sent to her girlfriend's P.O. box, like into her girlfriend's account, not an account for her because, she's in jail, in prison. So she was going to try that too. Of course, she didn't get away with that. Of course not. Look, when a person gets incarcerated, it is reported to the federal government that that they have been incarcerated. It is not a secret. Damn, I'm getting pissed off now. Watch this be the end of the day, and it's only 9:37. Those jurors are going to be pissed off that they went all the way over there. I'm not sure where they live, but I'm sure that it's not easy getting in that morning traffic to get there on time, paying to park somewhere, etc. Because I'm pretty sure that that this courthouse is going to have a parking garage or something where these people have to park. So can you imagine that they went all the way over there, they listened to one person testify and the day would be over? Oh my God, as a juror, I would be very, very upset. Mm-hmm. I know there was talk of Father John. Now, Father John is another chaplain that she did have dealings with at Tewksbury. I believe that is where he is on staff. But I don't believe Father John is going to testify. Good morning, Cal. It's a very busy morning. Thank you so much. Yes, please hit that like button. Thank you, girl. Everybody hit that thumbs up. We need that this morning. And please like, share, and subscribe. I always kind of forget to say that, but thank you. Even if it's a short day, thank you guys for coming in. We'll find out now. I told you.
Your patience with us. So I'm going to excuse you till tomorrow at 9. All right? Same instructions.
I wonder if they're going to go through motions. Damn it.
Reading anything, talking about this case, watching anything. Just don't do it. All right? And when you leave here today, just drive, go home, wherever you're going to go. And plan on being back here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. The plan would be that it will be it will be a longer day than today. I appreciate you coming in here today. We moved the case a little bit today, and I appreciate that. So we were able to do that. So I hope everybody has a nice afternoon and evening. We'll see you
Wake up, Stompy.
For a longer day. And just remember those instructions from the moment you leave to the moment.
Yeah, what the fuck, right? Ooh, I said a bad word.
Again, thank you so much.
All rise, please.
Bye, Felicia. Okay, what the world? I wonder if they're gonna talk about some motions. I'm gonna leave this running until I see them leave the courtroom. Okay, I want to make sure we don't miss anything. Jeez, right, girls, right. What do y'all think about the prosecutors? Good, bad, indifferent? Could have done a better job? Or they just have a different personality? Oh, okay.
break at this point. We'll come back. We'll do kind of a preliminary charge conference. We just
Okay.
council knows, but for everybody else, discuss possible jury instructions, suggestions from council. Then we can talk about any logistical issues that we have for tomorrow, and then we'll probably recess at that point. All right. So this will be a short recess, and we'll come back up. Thank you.
Okay. So they are getting ready to rest. That is why they're discussing the charge. So what they're talking about is they're going to start putting the pieces together for what the actual jury instructions are going to be, what the charges are going to be set, and what the jury instructions are. This is a very important part of this case, and hopefully we will get to listen to this. I hope they don't just stop the feed and we don't get to listen, because this is where you're going to find out if they're going to say, well, if you charge it with this, then it has to be that. If you charge it with that, then it has to be this. Like, what are the possibilities that if she is found sane for prison terms? That is what this is going to be mainly about. Yeah. I think the state's great. Well, thank you, Leslie. I think they're very blunt and to the point, and I think they have a different personality than most people. They're a complete different personality than Stompy. I mean, I just think that these two ladies are very, very professional, but like no BS. They don't do any BS. That's what I'm thinking. And they're to the point, like objection, or whatever. And it's making Stompy upset because Stompy is not getting to get in all the things he wanted to get in. Stompy's whole job is to reiterate the fact that she was sick. She is sick. Something is wrong with her. No sane person would do what she did. That's his whole spiel. And he's doing whatever he can to push that. Now, I understand he's just doing his job. I get it. And as far as the defense attorney goes, well, yeah, I think that he's doing a good job for her. But the case is just so strong against her. Yeah. Waste. Yes, waste. Right. The district attorney's office could have said, we're not even going to charge you. That would have been a huge injustice to those children, because it doesn't matter whether she was sick or not. She took the life of those children. They deserve to have their case heard. Somebody needs to be the voice for the children. They cannot voice for themselves. Justice is harsh sometimes, and it needs to be. Let other people learn over here to not make the choices that she made and then claim that she was not just criminally not responsible. Let some people pay attention to this. Let them see. Even if you think you're going to get away with filing as NGRI, you may not. You just may not. So, sidebar. Thank you, Sprinkle. That's funny, sidebar. That's too funny. But yeah, I hope we get to listen to this. I hope they don't just shut us down. We might get to, because they have not said in feed. If we saw something that said in feed, then I'll know they were hiding it. I always like this part of the trial whenever you got started working on the charge or the jury instructions. It goes back and forth, back and forth. Everybody gets to discuss why they think it should say this or should say that. I think it's very interesting. Of course, we know that in Massachusetts, based on what we've read, if you are found not guilty by reason of insanity, that you may go to a mental hospital for life. There's no set term. But if she is found sane, then she's going to go to jail, and they need to pick a term. She was not up for the death penalty, so that's not going to happen. But she could get the possibility of no parole, life with no parole. I think that's really the only two things that they can offer. You're either getting life with no parole, or you're getting the mental hospital for life. I guess it'll be the same as no parole, right? Because if you are in there for life, you're not getting out. So, all right. Does anybody need to get popcorn, go to the little girls' room, little boys' room, any of that before you get started back? Go do that right now. I'm going to go grab something, so hold on. Okay, I'm back. I just had to go grab a few things, let one of the dogs out. Oh, Jack. They get these, I don't know what they're called. Some kind of Himalayan salt, something, that they love these things. Oh my God, they fight over them. It's something else. Well, Jack sometimes will chew his up and swallow it. And then guess what happens? He gets sick. Social media is raking the prosecutors over the coals about her bows. Well, she's a bowhead. I mean, what can we say? Some of us did grow up as bowheads, and it kind of stays with you. Oh, God. It's not funny, but that was kind of funny. Anyway, let me give him this. Anyway, so I had to take care of that anyway. Here, I'll give you a little bit of this. Help your tummy there. Here you go. It's just a little cheese puppy. You want it? Boy. Oh, Jack's picky this morning. Okay, that's okay. You don't have to have it, Mom. We'll just leave it right here. Okay. Yeah, he don't want to eat no cheese. I'm like, what? It's because he got sick, Anyway, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know a lot of people are like, oh, these prosecutors are terrible and they're not any good. They're this, they're that, but I think they're doing just fine. I mean, I don't know what they thought. Did they think they were just, and you know why they chose women for the prosecute? I know why they chose women. They wanted to make the jury, they want to make everybody feel like it's woman to woman over here. It's not two men picking on some abuse, picking on some woman who can't walk, that kind of thing. So I think it was a smart choice to put two women prosecutors on this case. Now we're going to go back and finish reading what we were reading a while ago about this case from Reddit. Okay, we left off where they said, until they brought up Dr. Zazo. We all know his name has been mentioned a few times and confirmed on stand that he's a friend of Reddington. Something about the way he looked at the jury while talking to just made me not trust him. It felt like he was another defense attorney, a mouthpiece for Reddington, to testify on the stand to some lies by omission and very corrupt plan. I wasn't sure the DA would be able to catch him in anything because he had been so prepped. But I think with their line of questioning, it was pretty clear he has a bias and is a favor to the friend. Hell, I saw Reddington is friends with Lindsay Clancy's dad. What? Lindsay Clancy's dad saw a mention could be a rumor. And if that's true, I'm starting to feel like sick about the whole thing. Like it feels like a conspiracy level effed up with all these people having connections, everyone forgetting her and spinning a story in the works for 3 years. That's the energy I'm feeling. Okay, let me get my... Then, to seal the deal for me, the moment it felt like I'd been fooled, Lindsay's body language and face today when she looked into the camera and my stomach dropped. The way she was looking at the DA, the smirking confidence, the wide eyes, nothing about this woman reads as it had before. Before she looked anxious and over-medicated with a fluttering eyes and nervous hands. Hearing the DA mentioning the birthdays, and I thought, well, maybe her parents are bringing food and company to honor the kids for these days. Then the mention of the anniversary of the death, another wave of nausea for me. My trauma. I felt like I've been effing fooled, like I saw a mask slip. The next person says, yes, all of this. I saw that today. Something has shifted for me today, too. It's all been a charade. The only person to testify that she was hearing voices was Zazel, not her mom, not her mother-in-law, not the doctors, not the therapist, or her husband. And did anyone catch that Zazel said that he asked the nurse who was watching her to leave while she called Patrick, and that's when she told him about the hallucinations, allegedly. Yeah, I did catch that. Zazel's behavior as a forensic psychologist is unethical. He was a plant to fit the narrative. Yes, that's pay to play right there. Now, the next person says, how did he even get in her room? Her own family couldn't get in the hospital. He's not a lawyer. He went as KR's buddy. All right. Yeah, I think the jury will hopefully trust their intuition on his bias because it is bad. Yes, confirmation bias was right there in your face. Here's the thing about that when they were discussing confirmation bias. They sat there and contradicted themselves. He told us what the rules were, and then he turned around and told us that he did exactly what was against him. He's so not credible, right? Then the next person says, today I went back to wondering if she has a PD that she was masking. Her compartment is disturbing. Yeah, I think she does. Anyway, Honestly, I can see if she's someone that's highly manipulative, then she easily could have Googled all the psychosis stuff, knowing if she survived, she'd have something to lean on. Well, that's exactly what Letitia Stouch did. Letitia Stouch went through the DSM-5, picked out all the things that she could portray herself as being multiple personalities, and that's exactly what she did when she sat down and had an interview with Dr. Lewis. We are going to play Dr. Lewis's. We're going to show that again. After this trial is once the trial is over and they send this out to the jury to start deliberating, I'm going to show you Dr. Lewis and I'm going to show you Letitia Stouch. And I want you to think back and think about what you've been seeing going on with Lindsay Clancy and tell me if you don't see the same damn thing. Here we go. Yeah. My thoughts exactly. Thank you, Leslie. My thoughts exactly. The next person says, this is very interesting reading because people can, they're just saying exactly what they think or feel. Yeah, I think the jury will hopefully trust their intuition on his bias because it's bad. Today, okay, so he goes, honestly, I could see it if she's someone that's highly manipulative. We saw that. And then somebody goes, ding, ding, ding. And the next person says, ditto to the ding. Why does this remind me of the movie Side Effects? Yes, why does it? The part that got me today was how popular she is at the hospital. Guess we can check the box for glib and superficial charm. That's great, right? Right? Like popular at a check notes, state mental hospitals. What is that meant to prove? I had to go visit Susan Atkins on a case. Okay, now this is somebody called Guilty Capital. And she had visited, this is a professional right here. I had to go visit Susan Atkins on a case. Now, a short refresher course, she was famous for murdering a beautifully, very pregnant young woman while saying, I have no mercy for you, bitch. She owned every staff member at Chino Corona. They called her Susie and just worshiped her. One of the sickest upside down things I have ever seen. Wonderland in hell. Well, I've always said that Lindsay Clancy's over in prison land. She's not in any kind of prison or state hospital. No. I'm calling it prison land because she's all the freedoms that she has. The only freedom that she doesn't have is being able to leave. Her parents come in and out. They bring her lunch. She does all these different things during the day. She just can't leave. Would that be that hard for you? No. No, it wouldn't. Susan Atkins is from the Manson family? Yes, the very one. Sweet little Susie, as they called her at Chino. Jack, get down. Okay, you want this now? Now Jack wants the cheese, I think. Hang on. Mom's reading something, baby. You want that? There you go. Yeah, he decided he wanted the cheese. Yes. Sexy Sadie. Out of all of them charged and uncharged in the Tate LeBlanc, Atkins and Squeaky Fromm were the worst. Master manipulative who learned additional tactics from Charlie very well. Capital punishment wasn't available in California at that time, but they all should have been executed. I feel the same about Lindsay Clancy. Wherever she ends up, taxpayers will be paying the way for a triple child murder for decades. Every single penny from these various GoFundMes should be turned over to the CW by court order and the son of Sam laws put in place immediately. I absolutely agree with that, but that's not going to happen. So, here's what's been happening. She got approved for that SSDI because they have a situation where they can emergency, like they can do it through an emergency rush. And because she can't walk, she's now paralyzed, blah, blah. She was given SSDI. So all these, the minute you have SSDI, you have Medicare. You have Medicaid. You're entitled to all kinds of things that's paying for her stays at the hospital, her medications, and she's getting a monthly income to buy her makeups and clothes and, all these other things. So no GoFundMe money is being spent on her. All that GoFundMe money, one belongs to him and the other is given to the parents. So the parents can relocate there so that they can take care of their daughter who's being taken care of in a state hospital. They don't have to go there every day and visit her. They choose to do that. They don't have to take her food. This is not some third world country where you're in prison, you don't eat unless your family brings you food. I'm getting upset now. Okay, let's keep reading. Can you cure a sociopath? From Elsie's own notes, she knows how to work it. Point and shoot, baby. That part just felt off to me. What an odd thing to mention. And if someone who brutally strangled the life of 3 kids can get a lot of people to like her, couldn't that be related to a personality disorder? Absolutely it is. I am not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I don't claim to be either one of those. But we've seen enough trials, we've seen enough people, we saw how they act, and we know what they've been diagnosed with in their trials. They tell us, right? Yeah, it kind of is poorly added to the mean girl vibe she was given today. Yeah, she was a mean girl. Now, regular psych ward prom queen. Here we go, y'all. Listen to this. She's the regular psych ward prom queen with the smoky eyes. What time does she wake up in the AM to get her hair and makeup and lashes done and have freshly steamed shirts and still have time to ride in the medical bus to the courthouse? If those poor nurses are doubling as traveling beauty salons, I just cannot. I don't think they are. Somebody's helping her. Well, I've been wondering the same. Her hair is clean and perfectly curled every day. Tops all look very expensive and impeccably pressed. None of what she is giving us is humble. That's right, I agree. I'm sure she gives Dr. Zeisel a hug and has him hold her hand. I know her type. Glib and superficial charm is one of the criteria for antisocial personality disorders. The DSM doesn't use psychopathy or sociopathy as a diagnosis. They are masters at getting people to like them. Not that I'm saying she is. To be fair to Lindsay Clancy, I think she has more than one personality disorder or construct going on. Why wouldn't she goes? Wouldn't want to sell her short. Don't sell her short. They're saying. I know she's very smart. I know she knows she's manipulating everybody. Her being popular doesn't offset the bias clearly evident today. They're talking about yesterday's testimony here. Yeah, I definitely didn't put that in the defense scored points in the column. It was very odd for a psychologist to say that. But when you don't have much of a case, you'll grasp anything. When you don't have facts on your side, you have to play the emotional card. They are playing the emotion card. Psychopaths have it too. Her charm is somewhat lost on me. The next person says, I think they were trying to communicate that she is a loving person, but I agree that it probably didn't communicate that well. No, it did not. Okay. This is from 16 hours ago. She stared daggers into the heavyset male belly several times in the last several days too. Like looked him up and down and rolled her eyes after he passed. You couldn't see his face, but at one point I felt like maybe he had made eye contact with her and it pissed her off and that she was daring to look directly at her. That or she's disgusted at his thighs. Now, I'm going to say this and I'm not being mean, but a person like Lindsay Clancy would absolutely have that thought in her mind. She's very, very about her body and working out. I mean, when you have a baby and then you're doing a 5K within weeks, what does that tell you? The camera person is probably so disgusted with her at this point. Hang on, guys. Let's see. Lindsay shows no remorse, in my opinion. You're right, Sprinkled. I don't think she does either. Her crying is because she's crying for herself. Okay. Yeah, they've been catching her more today. They're definitely onto her and want to make sure everyone sees what they see. What channel are you guys watching on? Oh, we're not going to. Okay. LOL. I love that camera person. The next person says, I wonder if the jury has been able to notice that as well. Let's see. Let me see what she's saying. No, she doesn't. You're right. She doesn't. Okay. The next person says, now, this is from 10 hours ago. That's what I wonder. They're right there in the room with her. I was leaning heavily towards NGRI when I started watching the trial. But when her attorney spoke for the first time, I had the strangest, overwhelming sense that he was lying through his teeth. I've only had that a handful of times my whole life, and it's never proved me wrong. Wow, that's a strong statement right there. Well, filthy child killer is a millionaire celebrity and is just a regular guy with a job, so you know. Huh? This is kind of weird, y'all. Let me reread this because it doesn't make sense. Well, filthy child killer is a millionaire celebrity and he's just a regular guy with a job, so you know. No, I don't. Anyway. Yes, it reminds me of the shady cameraman on the old Wendy Williams show. The trial cameraman or woman is doing the Lord's work, especially yesterday. That was funny. Here you go, baby. I want to go make my sister make my little girl dog come in the house because it's too hot for her. baby. All right, we're going to keep reading these. Okay. I'm going to put this little thing right here. I'm going to click that back on so we can keep reading these. All right, here we go. The next person says, hang on, baby. But they didn't say that anyway. This is a huge ask, but does anyone have timestamps for any of these? I'm typically just listening to the trial, not watching, and I'm very curious to see some solid examples of the body language behavior. Many are mentioning from yesterday in particular. Come here, Trick, come here. The next one says, yeah, she's getting a bit overconfident because the trial is almost over. You're seeing the real Lindsay. She's calm, happy, and smug. I agree. Here we go. Here. I'll make sure she gets her back here. Here we go, baby. Cheese. There you go. All right. The next person says, she's just plain evil. If someone told me she was behind those TikTok conspiracy theories, I wouldn't be surprised. I hope the jury sees right through her. And the next person says, she's been especially chipper lately. It's weird. Her lack of ever asking, mentioning, or caring about the kids is going to bite her. People think the jury is obsessed with the lady wearing bows and not how the triple murder is smirking. Right. Nobody's obsessed with those bows. Well, I guess they might be. Here we go. Let me get this to the dog. I need to make sure they get their little treat. Here, come here. Come here. The next person says, now this is a long one. This person wrote a long one. The mask definitely slipped. Okay, hang on a minute. The mask definitely slipped. Zeisel's attempts to be personable backfired. As a therapist, now this is from a professional right here. As a therapist, I was so frustrated because so much of what he said was downright incorrect, and his conduct with her has reached ethical guidelines. That's right, it has. Confirmation bias. He didn't even know what med she was on at what time. And her smug look, the head shaking when the prosecutor was straight cooking her with her conduct on their birthdays and death days, while we're hearing about her playing on her phone, games with her peers, and takeout with her parents, lock her up in a prison and throw away the key. The next one says, it is funny because the amount of hatred LC defenders spewed towards Dr. Tufts and said she should be stripped of her license and a failure to women's health. Where is that energy now? Thankfully, more people's eyes are being opened. They are. As the trial goes on, they are. Here's the next one. Yeah, I couldn't define it any better than a mask slip. I've been trying to stay objective, but Reddington seems to really bring doubt into play. If he didn't bring Dr. Zeisel, maybe I'd have reasonable doubt, but now I'm questioning my own ability to discern. Suddenly, I'm hearing Reddington's sighs and him trying to gain control of a narrative, practically signaling to Zeisel that he better answer right. Now I see what others felt like she was only thinking about Patrick and attention from him. I thought at the worst that she was suicidal and wanted to take the kids with her, but now I'm wondering if she was ever suicidal. Her softened look turned into a girl energy. The moment she, okay, I'm sorry. This is weird how it was written. Hang on. Her softened look turned into mean girl energy the moment she stared down the DA. You don't attempt 3 methods of suicide and still fail. You're serious. Are you serious in my opinion? The next one says, this is interesting reading. That's actually a good point. Small correction. 4 methods: neck, wrist, pills, and window. Okay. He got real aggressive when he didn't hear a question and asked Reddington to repeat. Now, Reddington got super aggressive, clutched the podium, and leaned forward. That man scares me. He has a mask of superficial charm, but he lets it slip often in the courtroom. Another time he was being jovial go away, don't do that. Then she goes, another time he was being jovial with one of the McLean doctors after trying to intimidate her. Now, literally, wide grinned laughing, and the minute he was done, his face went completely flat. No lingering joy. It was all an act. He seems like a seething man who gets really angry after his nightly old fashions. In other words, he gets angry after drinking. That's what. Boy, that renders me. Okay. This guy on Facebook who has commented a few times about how KR was his defense attorney and screwed him over about a decade ago. If you go into his profile, he has been campaigning against him since 2012. And you can read a ton of Facebook posts that go way back on his profile, and they are a ton of screenshots of text conversations between him and Kevin that shows a super disturbing behavior on his part. He most definitely has a very scary and dark side to him. If all of those texts are legit, it's hard not to believe because there's a bunch of legal documents on there with his name, signature, and handwriting to verify. Oh boy, so somebody doesn't like Reddington from way back. Okay. I noticed Reddington's ability to change from angry, harsh to kind and soft, spoken in split seconds during the McLean doctrine. I thought, scary. I'm glad I don't have any people like that in my life. How can you really trust someone who can turn their emotions on a dime like that, right? The next one says, yeah, I thought he had a good composure and really seemed to be doing well today. Today was weird. It's like he was trying to telepathically communicate with Dr. Zeisel to remember the script. It was scary seeing all of them trying to get away with the puppet games. The DA has been behind, but today it's like they pulled something out of their back pocket. They let Reddington get comfortable and then drop the bombs on him because they went for his receipts. They'd been holding back. Yeah. The next one says, now this is from 14 hours ago. That's just how trial law works. While the prosecution builds in their case, it can be really tedious and boring. That's why people aren't supposed to focus on theatrics, but our culture is saturated in them and always expects a show. Okay, let me give this dog something. Hang on. Boy, this is interesting reading. Here you go. Let me break this up for you. Hang on. Here we go. Let me get this to her. Here, little girl. Here's your snack. Here you go. There you go. I can't just put all the snack down on the floor because Jack is a piggy poo and he will eat it all. That's how he is. Jack thinks everything is his and he doesn't have to share a damn thing. The next one says, I wonder if that was the difference in Reddington I kept noticing today. Then when his responded to the judge about how it's been a long week, I thought maybe he was getting tired from the trial. But then again, it's your job. I don't know. Today definitely made me feel confused and uncertain on how to think. Now that was from 13 hours ago. The next person says, he complained early in the trial that he runs one person's office, so he just might be tired and overconfident. I don't like how all the legal analysis are praising Reddington. Oh, okay. Then come on over here where we don't praise anybody. Come on over. There's literally nothing charming about this man. He's a monster. You've seen the narc? Good. Hopefully the spell breaks for more folks. Now this one's kind of interesting right here. It's a little bit long. I don't think she ever was. Her biggest journal complaint was responsibility for the kids and everyone. So no kids, no complaint. I don't think she ever wanted to die. Her wounds make perfect sense for someone who just wanted to make it look like she wanted to die. Wait till he leaves on predictable errands. Kill the kids, can't call to make sure he's on his way, take the meds incorrectly to impact her vitals faster and lessen her ability to stop herself, cut herself superficially, hard to cut your wrist with a watch, slow her fall out of the window to limit further injury, but also reflexes that the body thinks I'll get hurt. Wait to be found alive and then claim you're crazy. That's good. The next person says, I agree, she is a sociopath. It was planned. I pray the jury sees it. Otherwise, she will have her own My Tragedy talk show. Can you imagine? My Tragedy talk show. We have another Gypsy Rose Blanchard over here. Is that what we have? Everything's just terrible, and she's not getting her own way, and she's not getting the attention she wants anymore. And somebody's making plans to not be there anymore, so she does the worst thing she can do to get all the attention, and then blame it on everybody else. Is that what I see here? Now, the next person says, totally agree. She made a snotty look during cross, and I couldn't believe it. And Dr. Zeisel definitely had a snake oil salesman vibe. It started when he was tooting his own horn, talking excessively about his work and with the armed forces. Well, because I'll tell you why he did that. Because in the normal mind of a person in the USA, they look at anybody who is a vet as a special person. They served our country. They did it for me, right? That's how it appears. That's how people look at veterans from my experiences. So him just going on and on and on about his service, what he's done with the service. Even though he was never in the service, he was just embedded with the service. He knew if he talked about that, he would look different. He wouldn't look so shady as a snake oil salesman, like the guy said. Hang on, guys. Here you go. Here, take this. Here you go. I'm gonna get you a little treat. Here you go. All right. We're just going to keep reading these till they come back because it's very, very interesting what people think. And this is what they really do think, right? Okay. 3:32 in court TV live stream shivers down my spine. I wonder did any of the jury see this? Yes, I have amazing discernment. I have amazing discernment due to growing up with my own narc mother, and I knew the first time I saw her eyes that she wasn't right. And not in just a, hang on, where are they at? Oops. I'm going back down here. Okay, go down here, hang on. Let me get back down to where I was. My phone just kind of messed up a little bit. Hang on a minute, guys. Okay, all right, we're right here. Okay, now where to go back to? Okay. Yeah, my phone kind of just jumped out of where I was. I'm like, oh no, don't do that. Okay. Yes, I have amazing discernment due to growing up with my own narc mother, and I knew the first time I saw her eyes that she wasn't right, and not in just mentally ill way, but in a manipulative, sociopathic way. I'm happy to see she didn't fool you, and I hope she doesn't fool the jurors either. The next person says, those of us who grew up, including myself, with the mother you described can see right through it. I appreciate your perspective. Dear God, please bring justice for Cora, Dawson, and Callan. Amen. That's what I'm saying. Please bring justice. Thank you for saying that. Remembering them. That's what's right. You are an excellent person. I mean, this is really all about Cora, Dawson, and Callan. It really is. It makes you kind of understand why Patrick is done and so serious. He's over it. See, I think Patrick was upset and over it anyway because all she did was complain about, I don't get any sleep. I don't get any sleep. I don't feel good. I don't get any sleep. Well, you have 3 children. What do you expect, right? Okay. He did seem perplexed and disgusted when asked by the prosecutor if she asked about the kids during the first phone call. No, she didn't ask about the kids. Not one damn word about the kids. That's where I got pissed off. They cut the feed, guys. Looky here. They cut the feed. No. Please come back. Okay. Maybe. I'm staying right here until it says this is ended, okay? We're staying. Oh my God. Okay, let me go look. Hang on. I gotta go look someplace else to see if anybody else has a feed. Okay. Let me go look. Hang on. Wow, don't do that. Let me look at long crime real quick. Okay, day 17. Let's go see. Okay. We're going to go back to, hang on a minute. Let me do this. Hang on. I hope we get to see it. I don't know if they just have that there because they are waiting. It doesn't say that it ended, so we'll just leave it right there. Let me go look over here. Hang on, guys. Let's see. Day 17. Okay. No, the court's still going on. They have not cut the feed, thank God. So let me go back over here to where we were. Hang on. I'm going to go back to where we were. Back to where we were. Okay. All right. Woo, scared me. I was like, don't you cut that feed. We want to hear. We want to see what you're talking about. We want to know what could possibly happen to her in this trial. What are they going to actually charge her with? Now let's go back to what we're reading on Reddit. Okay. Okay, now I go a little bit down, but that's okay. Okay, so the next person says, there were some points where Patrick and other members of the family had to hide their shock after they heard something that they had no idea about. I don't think it's right to have them testifying when they're in the middle of a civil suit and their huge payout depends on Lindsay's being in GRI. When Patrick's mom found out that Lindsay wrote her in the journal that she wasn't close with her mother-in-law, she was shocked. See, when she did that, it changed the way Susan Clancy was testifying. Did y'all notice that? That is exactly what I saw too. The next person says, yeah, Zazel came off as a total slime ball. In my opinion, there's really no proof of anything he's saying. We just have to trust that he's being honest. And in comma, I don't think he was being totally honest. End of comma. It's frustrating because if she were in jail, her phone calls to Patrick would have been recorded and would have been proof of she's actually said anything about her hearing voices. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, we did see that. I could see it in her face. She was upset. She physically changed when the prosecutor said that. The next person says, all the evidence that the defense has presented is just way too convenient to be believable. If she were really in a psychosis, there wouldn't have been signs. My brother recently had Adderall-induced psychosis, and he couldn't even form a complete sentence. He was totally paranoid about things, and that didn't make sense, and was overall just really disassociated. It was very obvious something was very wrong. I'm not saying it has to present the exact same in every person, but I find it extremely hard to believe that she was acting totally rationally, speaking normally, and basically totally functioning, except for the singular 1 hour period when she sent Patrick out of the house, and then it just magically cured and she never heard the voices again. Doesn't it add up whatsoever? Okay, people, yeah. She was very clearly mentally ill when she killed those kids, but I think she knew it was wrong, and I don't believe she was in a psychosis. It was intended to be a murder-suicide, and the suicide part failed because she lost the nerve to actually off herself when it came right down to it. She's evil and needs to be in prison. Ooh. All right, the next person says, yeah, literally, Dr. Zazel came off as the defense attorney number 2. He did. He came off completely wrong. The only reason he didn't lie straight was because he was on the stand. Instead, he gave a damn word salad thinking everyone on the jury is stupid. And I can't see. This is funny, guys. It's written a little poorly, but it is funny. Let me go back. I hope the jury saw her faces too. It's something you can't ignore. Before he came up, I literally thought I'd felt comfortable and reasonable doubt. Now I'm wondering what the hell was the dynamic with Patrick. Yeah, we've all worried about that. Was she hoping for him to find her and get his attention? Was she looking for a clean slate from the kids, and her delusions with thinking Patrick would play into it? Hell, he's on the stand saying she's great. Maybe he did play into it. It's giving puppet master energy, and everyone's in on it. Here we go. The next person says, right, I am telling the truth. Well, that's one way to get me instantly just to distrust you. You swore on an oath. Why would you feel the need to proclaim that? He has plenty of experience on a witness stand to know how inappropriate such a comment is. He lost control and got defenses out of guilt when he said that, okay, y'all, it's kind of hard to read, hang on. When he said that, and people aren't seeing it because he's sweet, just a little old grandpa voice, and his demeanor just absolutely sleazy. Okay, the next person says, I'm glad the judge called him out on that. The next person says, over on TikTok, they're already posting videos of Lindsay's facial expressions today with triumphant music and messages about how she has a fight left in her. Wow. I am embarrassed by my gender. Oh, that's a woman right there, yeah. I am too. It's really embarrassing that 99% of the people defending her are women. Just really sets us back and makes us look stupid. And it does. Sets us back years. Have you seen the pink I stand with Lindsay filter? I swear, I think they forgot this is a murder trial and that this woman killed her kids. And that if that's because you want to fight for her, Literally, the picture of the white woman, tears, privilege because of, okay, wait a minute. Okay, listen, I'm going to skip that sentence because y'all know how I feel about that. There is no color. In my opinion, this is how I raise my children too. When you cut your skin, you all bleed red. You are all the same. There is no color. Okay, I'm going to skip the sentence here. Hang on. Flash that pan as far as news goes, and the people that hear about it would go give a 0, except immediate guilt. But the same people are loving Lindsay. It's bizarre shit. Person says, no, I haven't. How embarrassing, the world we live in. Okay, let me give my dog a treat, and we're going to read the next one. It's super long. Like they wrote a book. Hang on. Hang on. Here we go. I know you want this. Hang on. Come here. Here we go. Yeah. Here we go. Check the cheese. Yeah. Here's yours. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm ready to read the book now. Ooh, get your popcorn, get your drink. This is the long one right here. I truly felt sick to my stomach today after watching the testimony. The lying and bias is real. Let's talk about the inappropriate relationship he has with LC. That doctor didn't need to write a letter on her behalf. She has treating physicians at the hospital. She say that why wouldn't they get it from her treating physicians, especially if he's claiming he's not a treating physician. Now further, if you're an expert witness on her behalf, he surely didn't have to have a lot of information to share with us. And as an expert witness, why would you stay with this lady for 3 years? Thank you. Very inappropriate. The next thing she says is, hang on. It isn't your job. You just go in and make the assessment, write it up, and you're done. I have no words. Typically, when a psychologist is doing, for example, a 7:30 evaluation, they meet with the client, depending on the issues, for a few hours for each party, and then write the report. They don't have further contact. It's very odd. He should be ashamed of himself. He's lost his credibility today. Amen. He did. Okay. It generally does. Now, the next person says, same experience with a close friend. There was absolutely no hiding it, even through text. She was consistently unhinged for an extended period of time, and it doesn't add up at all. Zion's confirmation bias made him ethically conflicted, and his testimony should be ignored. How about reports from Tewksbury and their psychiatrist? Yeah, where were those people? That's what I want to know. Yeah, bingo. Thank you. That's right. Bingo. It was very inappropriate. Okay. The next person says, oh, it's another book, guys. Another book. I agree. There would be signs. Medication-included symptoms are real. I'm not sure she was exhibiting them. Last year, I wanted to switch SSRIs, and my GP didn't research the one I've been prescribed, apparently well known to be one of the most difficult to wean off of. It's not supposed to be stopped cold turkey, ever. Stop. Hang on. Stop. Hang on. All right. You can take that. Let me give this to this dog. Damn it, they need to stop. All right, guys, this is it. No more treat. No more treat until lunchtime. There you go. All gone. There you go. Go lay down. Go lay down. Okay. I'm sorry. I had to give him that. Like, he knew I had cheese in my hand and he wanted it. Now we're going to finish reading this. Sit down, Jack. No, there's no more. It's gone. Okay. Here we go. I'm so glad y'all are patient about these dogs. I really am. Because some people would be like, I don't want to listen to that shit and move on to the next channel. All right. Then this is, okay, so let's finish this. I'm prescribed by a previous GP, Effexor, which is apparently well known to be one of the most difficult to wean off of. It's not supposed to be stopped cold turkey ever. But that's exactly what they prescribed to me to do. It was the worst week of my life, and I've never felt less like myself. It was impossible to get back in right away to have the plan corrected. I had already spent a week completely detoxing in a manic haze before they put me back on it and reduced dosages. During the detox, I told my fiance and my mom that I didn't want to be left alone, which they took it seriously because I usually prefer my space and to be left alone. Anyway, today changed things. I agree with OP. Now, I don't know who OP is, but anyway. I agree with all of this, the next one says. There was no way to prove that she had a psychosis that day or at all. Agree with that. Now, the next person, oh boy, this is bad right here. Zizal and Reddington are effectively saying and wanting everyone to believe that she had manic psychosis episodes for 45 minutes or less. Impossible. Come here, asshole. Sorry, guys. Hang on. Take his glass. I'm going this weekend and I'm getting a damn chair. I'm getting a chair somewhere. So this dog can get up and sit down with me like he wants to do. All right, now, here we go. I'll agree with him. The next one says, Patrick leaves at 5:15. He doesn't return till about 6:10. Hang on. I've got to get down. I can't. Okay, go lay down, Betsy. Go lay down. Patrick leaves at 5:15. He doesn't return till about 6:10 or so. That gives her 55 minutes total. But she was on the ground for 10 to 15 of those minutes, roughly, before Patrick came home. Like, sure, Jan, she's always in a psychosis state. Yeah, Zazel didn't convince me. He actually turned me away from their own narrative. I don't trust him at all. Go sit down. We're done. No, I don't have anything else. Go sit down. That's it. No. Okay, sorry, guys. Sorry. The next one says, so the state can call their own expert as a rebuttal witness to rebut Zazel's clinical findings, right? Yeah, it is right. Yeah, they can. Yes, and that's why they didn't call their experts yet. They have a few people left on their list, and that's them. Oh, I didn't realize they could bring anyone back. Well, yeah, they can. Yeah. It is not necessarily bringing them back. The state presented their case in brief, meaning brief, essentially, which is the facts of the crime and what points of guilt of the crime. The defense then presented their NGRI defense, essentially via the PPP theory and experts. Now, the CW has a chance to bring in their own witnesses to rebut those specific claims presented by the defense, i.e. stuff about PPP, etc. They will most likely be new witnesses like forensic psychologists, one from the FBI, I believe, and I'm not sure the other. If they are already preparing a charge for the jury to consider, I'm sorry. I don't know. Hang on a second. I didn't want to cough in your ear. Gosh, it was bad. All right. See, they're already preparing their charge. That means they're getting ready to arrest this case. I don't know that we're going to see all of this FBI and stuff. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It shifted for me today, too. I think she's evil. The next guy says, I hope the jury saw it the way we did. Rewatching. Why is this taking so long? What are they doing? It's like I can hear something in the background, maybe. Okay, well, all right. We'll just leave it right there. He said it was going to be a brief recess, but it's not brief. It seems like it's been a long time. Anyway. I hope the jury saw it the way we did. Rewatching, I can see the point where she sees the camera on her and slowly tries to shift her face to neutral and takes a slow blink as if, oh, here we come. All right, we're back in court, guys.
This court is back in session. You may be seated.
Woohoo! We get to listen.
All right, Counsel, what we kind of wanted to do is at least have a preliminary discussion regarding instructions. What I would generally do is after we have the discussion is then kind of distribute a draft to counsel so we could have more focused charge conference next day or so. But I just kind of wanted to get everybody's thoughts or kind of suggestions that they would be seeking the court to instruct the jury on. So kind of what I'll be using will be the model jury instructions, generally the model jury instructions from the March 2026, the latest suggestions from the SJC. And so Commonwealth, let me kind of hear what your thoughts are, and then I'll hear from the defendant.
So for individual instructions, we have listed opinion testimony, prior inconsistent and prior consistent statements, redactions. I don't think there are too many, but there were some on the death certificates, stipulations, and consciousness of guilt instruction. In terms of what we're looking for for the charges, we'd be looking for an instruction instruction on first and second, with the theories of first being both deliberate premeditation and extreme atrocity and cruelty. In terms of the criminal responsibility instruction, we're asking that the instruction regarding intoxication not be given, because from our perspective, there's been no evidence of intoxication by drugs and or alcohol during the killings. There's testimony, and I think there'll be more testimony about the defendant taking pills after killing the children and before.
Look at her
killing the
face.
children. She
Watch her
was on a
face.
low-dose prescription, 10 milligrams of amitriptyline that was recently increased to 20 milligrams, but there's no real evidence of whether or not she actually increased that dose. And then it was a low dose of trazodone and a low dose of Valium. So those were prescribed medications that she had reported no side effects from, and I believe in the text with her mother, she said that she was still waiting to actually feel effects from those. So there's no evidence of intoxication from those drugs. And then the only intoxication potentially could be when she took pills after killing the children. And even those amounts from the toxicology are low-level amounts. So we're asking that the instruction on intoxication not be given.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask the defendant as well, because I did read through those. And I was trying to find the definition of intoxication as it applies in the homicide instructions. Most of the cases that I was able to find so far is the dealing with the OUI statute, Chapter 90, and trying to find the real definition in regards to that. Is it the Commonwealth's position that the intoxication is beyond what was the considered effect of the drugs? Because if you know what I'm saying, so if she takes, if a defendant, I don't mean to personalize it, if a defendant takes prescription drugs and it does create some effect, would that be considered intoxicated for the instruction?
I don't believe so. I think in the instructions it talks about having being intoxicated to the point where it affects your state of mind or ability to control yourself. I think intoxication, especially where there's not a specific definition given in the homicide instructions, I think you go to the general definition of intoxication, which would not just be taking medication prescribed, but it would be over taking medication or combining with alcohol or other drugs. It's similar to the instructions in OUIs, operating under the influence of alcohol or drugs. I think you would have to go to that definition or to the general definition of intoxication if it's not specifically defined in the instructions. And I think the general definition of intoxication is taking some type of substance, either alcohol, drugs, medication, in excess and to the point where it's affecting your ability to think and to act and to control your behavior.
All right. All right. Anything? So I've got opinion, prior, consistent, prior, inconsistent, redaction, stipulations, consciousness of guilt, first, second, extreme atrocity, deliberate premeditation, and the criminal responsibilities without the subparagraph, the paragraph regarding intoxication.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Mr. Reddington?
I don't know if the government has been listening to the same evidence in this case. This is clearly an involuntary.
Oh my God.
At least as far as the judge's charge to the jury, based upon the evidence that's been presented, whether or not it's what we would argue is the over prescription of the medications, whether or not it's the side effects of the medications, whether or not it's the titration or the termination or the immediate cessation of the medications against what normal medical advice would be. All of those factors contribute to the mind of Ms. Clancy that was expressed to a lot of people, family members, people that knew her. She had indicated, I think Your Honor knows the evidence repeatedly indicated that
She has a little RBI.
she was affected by the benzos. She was felt that she was being addicted to the benzos, trying to get off the benzos. She indicated that the sertraline was obviously killing her as far as going from 25 to 50 milligrams, and then subsequent.
She never took 50.
SSRIs prescribed. To suggest that there's no basis to give the jury the instruction, they determine based on the evidence that is as a result of the involuntary intoxication from narcotics, not alcohol, obviously, from the prescribed narcotics, not illegal drugs. So from the prescription drugs, that's on all fours with a valid defense that they should be instructed as it relates to involuntary intoxication. I think it's the model jury instructions on criminal responsibility. Obviously, if there's any nuances that I would pick up, I would bring that to the court's attention. But I have tried murder case recently with the model jury instructions, and my memory is that I was pretty satisfied. It was Judge O'Shea, I think, actually in this courtroom a year ago, and I was satisfied with the instructions on lack of criminal responsibility. I would at some point ask the court to charge on involuntary manslaughter. I'd ask the court to charge on wanton conduct with a component of the impact of the intoxication. So you can't try this case in a vacuum. You can't present the case to the jury. I know the government would like to present the case only on cruelty and atrocity. They probably don't like the statute that allows a jury to determine the degree of murder, which would be first and second. But I think that the evidence is such that a jury should have the option of considering whether or not we're talking about involuntary manslaughter based upon the evidence that's permitted. So I would defer to the court on the instructions on cruelty and atrocity, premeditated malice of forethought, second degree malice. I would ask the court to consider instructing on involuntary intoxication, to consider on the involuntary manslaughter as a lesser offense, and anything else that I can think of. But right now, that's what I can think of.
All right. Yeah, counsel.
Thank you. Commonwealth did request first and second degree instructions. It's our position that involuntary manslaughter wouldn't apply here. The evidence is that there was a specific intent to cause death. So there's nothing that I can think of in the involuntary instruction that would apply here. Going back to the intoxication just for a moment.
Sure.
All of the medications, most of the medications that defense counsel talked about that the defendant was having reactions to and side effects from were before her hospitalization at McLean Hospital. And she was weaned off of that last one, the Seroquel, that while she was in McLean Hospital. And then she was without those medications and they're out of her system for 3 weeks. And she's just on those other 3 medications. So the intoxication that matters is not what happened in the fall and before McLean, it's what happened on the day of the incident. It's similar if it's an OUI, it doesn't matter if you were drunk in November, it matters if you're drunk on the date of the incident. So what matters here is that January 24th, 2023, and those other drugs and the effects that they caused to her aren't relevant to what happened on that day, as they've been out of her system for at least 3 weeks at that point.
All right. So the Commonwealth's position would be that the relevant analysis is what she was taking on or around that January 24th?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other? Yeah, good. Sure.
It's occurred to me, again, as I said, it's only fresh in my mind from the case I had here last year. I know the model jury instructions indicate, and I'm trying to find it in here, that there's supposed to be consideration of a chalk for the court to write out the elements of the offense of first-degree murder, cruelty and atrocity, premeditated malice of forethought, etc. And I would ask that you not do that. I don't think that it's appropriate. I think it highlights, if you will, in a simplistic terms, premeditated malice of forethought. I think you and I, we just had a murder case last year on another matter. And I mean, I heard your instructions. You're very forceful with the elements of the offense. And I just don't think we need to have this appendix or whatever you want to call it. And again, I did object to that with the Judge O'Shea. We did not submit the instruction list, cookbook, or whatever you want to call it, to the jury. So I think that the court's instructions would be sufficient. I would not want to have that chalk that is referenced in the model instructions. That's discretionary. It's not obligated. They just say that it might be helpful for the court to give the jury some type of a checklist, but I don't think we should reduce instructions on a murder case to a checklist. And I'm just afraid that what happens is that jurors then take the checklist, as it were, and they kind of look at it or consider it, and they just do exactly that. It's a checklist. So I would ask that you not do that.
All right, just so, Counsel, my general practice is not to have that kind of list.
Yeah, I remember
I
that, yeah.
generally don't, but I also generally will provide a copy of the instructions to each juror. So they'll have their own full copy and they can follow along because the three of you know they're lengthy and kind of dry. So they'll have those with them. But I'll like I said, I generally don't do that chart. All right. So anything else in regards to the instructions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So my plan would be to have at least a rough draft available for counsel tomorrow. So you at least have that. And, depending on the timing and where we go in regards to the actual closings, we'll have the opportunity for you to review those, go over the draft, and then any kind of objections or suggestions you want to make, we'll have a chance to do that. But so you'll have, again, it's a rough draft. That's all I can tell you. And nothing's in stone, but at least give you an idea kind of where I'm coming from.
Do you think, logistically, Your Honor, that with the presentation of Dr. Resnick and then the government having their 3 documents,
I knew it.
hopefully we finish the evidence tomorrow, we would be closing Monday?
I would expect either Monday or Tuesday. If the parties may need, I'll leave. We can talk about that. But my old experience, there's been a lot of evidence, and there's a lot of witnesses, and so if the parties feel that they need like a day to kind of marshal their thoughts, we could talk about that. So either probably Monday or Tuesday. We could talk about that tomorrow. All right. Anything else we need to address, you think?
No, Your Honor.
All right. And so tomorrow we'll be in recess until tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Hopefully we'll start with Dr. Resnick and then, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. You just kind of looked, I thought, so that would be the thought. And then we'll just kind of go from there. If the defendant rests, the Commonwealth can present their witnesses. And if it's not done by Friday, we go into Monday, and that may mean closings and charge on Tuesday.
Okay.
All right.
And, Mr. Verino will be here, yes, to set up the Zoom.
So you're not going to trust me to set that up this time? I think that's a good move. All right. So thank you, everyone. And so we'll be in recess until tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Court, all rise.
All right. I'm going to leave that picture right there. We're going to look at her, and we're going to talk about this model charge as they're discussing. The prosecution is exactly right. She had already been off of those medications. She had been weaned off of them. So all of that other is not in her system as intoxicated, right? So when you talk about this model charge, I just want to go back and talk to you. They are considering if they find her sane, 1st and 2nd degree murder. Okay, great. That's what it should be. Okay, now let me tell you about these model instructions so that we can all understand. There's been an important change in 2026 to these model instructions. The new instructions specifically address voluntary intoxication, drugs combined with mental disease or defect, which is what he's talking about. They tell the jury right? Now, that could be very important in the Clancy case, given the testimony about medications, psychiatric illness, and the defense's theory of what was happening to her at the time of the killings. Now, we have the model right here. I'm looking at it. It's kind of small. Hang on a second. I'm trying to pull it back up. And this is according to their own rules of procedure and all of that thing. They have, model jury instructions on homicide. In March of 2026, the Supreme Judicial Court announced the release of revised model jury instructions on homicide. The justices first approved and recommended the use of model jury instructions on homicide in 1999. Now, prior to 2026, the instructions were revised on 2 occasions, in 2013 and 2018. In 2026, instructions reflect developments in the new law since 2018. The model jury instructions on homicide are not intended to be comprehensive statements of law, but rather provide a guidance to the judges on those instructions that are frequently given in trials of homicide cases, except vehicular homicide. Okay, so introductory. Let's take a look at the introductory. Okay. Let me see if I can find something. Let's see. Okay. So the Supreme Judicial Court recommends that judges provide juries with a written copy of the judge's final instructions, which he said he will do, or an audio recording or both. Now, a chalk entitled Requirement of Proof of Homicide. That is what the defense attorney is trying to stop them from giving this to the jurors. I can tell you why he doesn't want the juries to see this. Because if the jury see this, then they are reminded that she actually committed first or second degree murder, whether she was intoxicated or not. Now, the prosecution is saying, oh no, we don't want that intoxication information in the jury charge because it doesn't really apply. But the real reason why they don't want it to be in there is because they don't want to give her the opportunity to be found legally sane, but manslaughter because she was intoxicated. See, because manslaughter holds a very different incarceration period. Okay. And if you have somebody who's never been in trouble at all and they end up with manslaughter, they could be on probation. Right. Kill 3 children and then be on probation. Can you imagine that? No. Hell no. Now, in those instructions, hang on a minute. I want to pull up this chalk list that they're talking about. Hang on. The instructions on criminal responsibility is updated to reflect the revisions from the Commonwealth versus Duffy, clarifying that the lack of criminal responsibility defense is not foreclosed for long-term drug abuse. Hang on a minute. Or long-term drug use caused the defendant's mental disease or a defect. Number 2, the joint venture instructions is modified in light of the Commonwealth versus Sun, clarifying that to withdraw from and abandon a joint venture, there must be an appreciable interval between the withdrawal or the abandonment of the crime. The joint venture instructions is supplemented to clarify that the joint ventures need not be tried together and that the joint venture liability does not depend on the outcome of the other. Okay, so that would be like if there was 2 people. The self-defense instruction, let's go on down. We're not going to read about self-defense. They also removed the word victim. The word victim is deleted throughout the main text of the instructions in most instances, and it was replaced with more neutral terms like deceased. The term prompts is no longer used when discussing 3 different ways of providing or proving the intent element of murder in the first degree with extreme atrocity or cruelty, which they just talked about that. Instead, the instructions refer to the 3 ways in which the intent element can be proved: murder with extreme atrocity and cruelty. Let's go look at that, because really that is what the prosecutor wants in those, and I want them in there because it is cruel. All right, let's think about how she did this. It says, you shall consider this theory of murder in the first degree regardless of whether or not you find the Commonwealth has proved the murder in the first degree with deliberate premeditation. To prove the defendant guilty of murder with extreme atrocity or cruelty, the Commonwealth must prove the following elements beyond a reasonable doubt. Let's read them. After I read this, I'm going to let y'all go. I just want y'all to understand why they're talking about it. The defendant caused the death of the person's name. The defendant either intended to kill the person's name or intended to cause grievous bodily harm to the person, or intended to do an act which, in the circumstances known to the defendant, a reasonable person would have known, created a plain and strong likelihood that death would result. That's exactly what she did. She knew strangling those children would end up that they would die. She knew that. That was her intent. Her intent was to strangle the children, okay? That the killing was committed with extreme atrocity or cruelty. And as we learned through this trial, and I'm not being biased, I'm just telling you what we've learned through this trial, or what I've learned through this trial. In a strangulation case, there is immense pain and fear as you're being choked and you cannot breathe. Now imagine she's sitting over them with her knees on their arms so they can't fight back. She's got a band around. This is very graphic. I'm sorry, but this is what I see happen here. Because they didn't fight back. She didn't have anything on her that showed the children fought back. So she has got their arms pinned down where they can't fight back. She's got this exercise band wrapped around their neck. She's choking the life out of them. They cannot breathe. Let me turn this down. I know I'm screaming at you. I'm so sorry. I don't want to be screaming at you guys. Hang on. I forgot it was on 100 over here. All right. That should be better. So she's choking the life out of them. Now, when you're choking somebody, you cut off the air, you cut off the blood supply, and the blood is building up, and there is immense pain in the eyes. And then, it's painful. It takes a long while, and it's painful. She intended to kill those children. It was cruel and atrocious. Absolutely, it was. I believe that's the right charge, and it should be there. Now, the killing was committed with extreme atrocity or cruelty. Were the evidence of self-defense or defense of another, we're not using that one, were the evidence of a mitigating circumstances. In addition, these elements of the Commonwealth must also prove there were no mitigating circumstances. Well, okay. I will now discuss each of the requirements in more detail. The first element is that the defendant caused the death of a person's name, and the defendant's acts the cause of the death were the act in a neutral and continuous sequence. Yes, it was. She choked them to death. Results in death, and without which death would not have occurred. Absolutely, they would still be alive had she not choked them. The second element is about the defendant's intent, which the Commonwealth must prove in at least one of three ways. There are that the defendant, number one, A, intended to kill blank, or intended to cause grievous bodily harm to blank, or intended to do an act in which the circumstances known to the defendant. Anyway, okay, so that's that. As you can see, as to this intent element, the Commonwealth satisfies its burden of proof. It proves the defendant's intent beyond a reasonable doubt in any one of those three ways. Were the jury instructions on deliberate approval? Okay, hang on just a second, guys. I got to call my. So sorry about that. I felt like I was getting a little bug in my throat. Anyway, let's keep reading this because now we're going to talk about premeditation. It was absolutely premeditated. Well, listen to this. Where the jury were instructed on deliberate premeditation. The first way of proving intent, that the defendant intended to kill, is the same as the second element of murder in the first degree with deliberate premeditation. The second and the third ways of proving intent are different from any element of murder in the first degree with deliberate premeditation. Where the jury were not instructed on deliberate premeditation. The first way of proving intent is that the defendant intended to kill the person's name, that the defendant consciously and purposely intended to cause the death. The second is that the defendant intended to cause grievous bodily harm to blank, and grievous bodily harm means severe injury to the body. The third way is that the defendant intended to do an act which, in the circumstances known to the defendant, a reasonable person would have created plain and strong likelihood that death would result. Let me help you understand how to analyze this third way of proving that the defendant's intent. You must first determine whether the defendant intended to perform the act that caused the death. If you find that the defendant intended to perform the act, you must then determine what the defendant himself actually knew about the relevant circumstances at the time he acted. Then you must determine whether under the circumstances known to the defendant, a reasonable person would have known that the act created a plain and strong likelihood that death would result. You hear that? So see, this is why he doesn't want this chalk sheet, as they're calling it, attached to the instructions. Because as these jurors read through all this and they think back about the evidence they've heard and the evidence that they're going to be allowed to look at, which is all the evidence, They're going to be thinking about these words right here. Acted knowingly that the intent would cause death. Knew it would cause death. Were the evidence of transferred intent. Now, if the defendant intends to kill a person or cause him a grievous bodily harm, or in attempting to do so mistakenly kills another, such as a bystander, which that's not what happened here. Okay. Now, here we go. This is where it gets to the intoxication that he wants in the charge. This is why he wants this. Where the evidence of mental impairment or intoxication. In deciding whether the defendant intended to kill, intended to cause grievous bodily harm, or intended to do an act in which the circumstances known to the defendant, a reasonable person would have created a plain and strong likelihood that the death would result, you may consider any credible evidence that the defendant suffered from a mental impairment or was affected by his consumption of alcohol or drugs. A defendant may have the requisite intent even if he suffered from mental impairment or consumed alcohol or drugs, but you may consider such evidence in determining whether the Commonwealth has proved this element. The third element is that the killing was committed with extreme atrocity or cruelty. Extreme atrocity means an act that is extremely wicked or brutal, appalling, horrifying, or utterly revolting. Extreme cruelty means that the defendant caused the person's death by a method that surpassed the cruelty inherent in taking a human life. You must determine whether the method of means of killing is so shocking as to the amount of murder with extreme, to murder with extreme atrocity or cruelty. The inquiry focuses on the defendant's actions in terms of the manner and means of inflicting death and the resulting effect on the deceased. In deciding whether the Commonwealth has proved beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant caused the death with extreme atrocity or cruelty, you must consider the following factors. Yeah, let me see. Yeah. Hi. Hello. Nice to see you, Bill Steely. Thank you for coming in. We're just talking about the jury charge that they were discussing in the court this morning. Thank you for coming in. We always like seeing new faces. We hope you enjoyed our show today. We're still going there. After I get through reading these jury charges, so everybody understands why both sides want what, then we're going to go for the day. But anyway, thank you for coming in. All right. Now, nope, come on. But this is very interesting because this is exactly why he wants this in here. Whether the defendant was indifferent to or took pleasure in the suffering of the deceased, whether the defendant's method or means of killing was reasonably likely to substantially increase or prolong the conscious suffering of the deceased. Now, this is why I'm talking about this. A gunshot may not be prolonged, but strangulation is a prolonged. It's prolonged. That means it's atrocious and cruel, right? The next thing it says is, let me see. I don't want to lose my place here. Okay. Whether the defendant's method or means of killing was reasonably likely to substantially increase or prolong the consciousness, suffering, or the deceased, whether the means used by the defendant was excessive and out of proportion to what would be needed to kill a person. In considering whether the means used by the defendant were excessive and out of proportion to what would be needed to kill a person, you may consider the extent of the injuries to the deceased, the number of blows delivered, the manner, degree, or severity of the force used, and the nature and weapons, instruments, or methods used. You cannot make a finding of extreme atrocity or cruelty unless it is based on one or more of the factors that I have just listed. Now, where's the evidence of where it's not a single blow? Where there is evidence the defendant at the time of the offense had a mental impairment or was intoxicated. He wants this in here so bad. You may consider the defendant's mental condition at the time of the killing, including any credible evidence of mental impairment or the effect of the defendant of his consumption of alcohol or drugs, and determining whether the Commonwealth has proved beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed the killing with extreme atrocity or cruelty. A defendant may have committed the killing with extreme atrocity or cruelty, even if he suffered from a mental impairment or consumed alcohol or drugs, but you may consider such evidence in a determination whether the Commonwealth has proved his element. Okay. Felony murder in the first degree, which the prosecutor wants in there. Next, okay, we're going to talk about that. Were other theories of murder in the first degree are charged. You shall consider this theory of murder in the first degree regardless of whether or not you find the Commonwealth has proved murder in the first degree with deliberate premeditation or with extreme atrocity or cruelty or both. To prove the defendant guilty of felony murder in the first degree, the Commonwealth must prove the following elements beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendant committed or attempted to commit felony with maximum sentences of imprisonment of life. Committed or attempted to commit. Okay, so the maximum sentence in that is life. Okay, hang on. Number 2. The defendant is caused by an act of the defendant or person participating with him in the commission or attempted commission of that felony. The act that caused the death occurred during the commission or attempted commission of that felony. The defendant intended to kill the person or intended to cause grievous bodily harm to that person, or intended to do an act in which circumstances known to the defendant a reasonable person would have known created a plain and strong likelihood that death would result. Okay, let's go on down here. She doesn't have prior felonies. You may consider the defendant's mental condition at the time of the killing, including any credible evidence of mental impairment or the effects of the defendant of his consumption of alcohol or drugs, and determining whether the defendant had the intent required in the underlying offense of the kill, to cause grievous bodily harm, or to do an act in the circumstances known to the defendant. A reasonable person would have known created a plain and strong likelihood that death would result. A defendant may have the requisite intent even if he suffered from mental impairment, consumed alcohol or drugs, but you may consider such evidence in determining whether the Commonwealth has proved this element. Now, there's also something called murder instructions. The underlying felony contains an element of assault. The underlying felony by its nature does not have an intent or purpose separate and is distinct from the act of causing physical injury. The act of violence that is an element of underlying felony cannot be the same act that caused the death. Where an act of violence is an element of the underlying felony, you may find felony murder only if you find that the act was separate and distinct from the violent act that resulted in the death. In this case, the Commonwealth alleges the following separate and distinct acts, and then you list what they are, right? You may find that felony murder only if you find that the Commonwealth has proved beyond a reasonable doubt one of the separate and distinct acts, and then, you list them. Let's see. If you find the defendant guilty of felony murder, you are required to answer the following questions, and then it lists these questions. Okay. The second element of the killing was caused by an act of the defendant or a person participating with him in the commission or attempted commission of the underlying felony. Then there's the third element. The third element is the act that caused the death occurred during the commission or attempted commission of this felony. The Commonwealth must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the act that caused the death occurred during this commission of the felony and at substantially the same time and place. A killing may be found to occur during the commission of the felony if the killing occurred as part of, I wish these things would stop popping up, as a part of the defendant's effort to escape responsibility for the felony. Now, see, by intoxication, she's trying to escape responsibility. This whole thing with the NGRI is to escape the responsibility for what she has done, right? The fourth element in that the defendant intended to kill, intended to cause grievous bodily harm, intended to do an act in which circumstances known would cause death. We read that. Okay. If murder with extreme atrocity or cruelty is also charged, the judge should explain that the three prongs of the malice in the following manner. This is so important for these. The jurors need to understand every bit of this. As you can see, this fourth element is the same as the second element of murder with extreme atrocity and cruelty, which I explained earlier. Just as for murder with extreme atrocity and cruelty, the Commonwealth satisfies its burden of proof. It proves beyond any of the three types of intent beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay, let me see, what does it say? As you can see, the fourth element, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm just reading through this quickly to see if it's covering something we didn't already talk about. Where the evidence of an accident, where there's evidence of mental impairment, intoxication. In deciding the defendant intended to kill, intended to cause grievous bodily harm, or intended to do an act in which the circumstances known to the defendant's reasonable person would have known created a plain and strong likelihood that death would result, you may consider any credible evidence that the defendant suffered from a mental impairment or was affected by his consumption of alcohol and drugs. A defendant may have requisite intent even if he suffered from a mental impairment or consumed alcohol or drugs, but you may consider such evidence in determining whether the Commonwealth has proved its elements. These are all just different things that you can put in, but I wanted y'all to kind of understand why they're fighting about what they want in here. He wants her to be charged with manslaughter, It's either she was insane at the time or manslaughter. That's all he wants her to be charged with. The prosecutor's over going, she killed 3 children. She was not intoxicated, and I don't want that in there. The prosecutors are going after first and second degree murder, and they should. Absolutely, they should. All right, guys. So I just wanted to read to y'all what they're talking about when they're talking about this model jury instruction. So that was it, and then you just start inserting the certain elements of it. And the reason why the defense does not want them to have the chalk sheet is because it explains too much, makes them think too much, and they will realize that she really did or should be charged with first degree murder or second degree murder if she's not insane. That's all I wanted to say. Okay, you guys have a wonderful afternoon. We will return tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock a.m. Texas time, which is 9 o'clock a.m. Massachusetts time. And isn't it exciting? They're going to rest Tuesday, probably on Tuesday, and it'll be going out to the jury. That's exciting. Very exciting. Anyway, as I always say, you all have a wonderful afternoon. Please be careful out there. Take care of yourselves. Go hug your babies. Life is short and our time with them is even shorter. And the one thing you don't ever want to have to say is, I regret not saying I love you. I regret not hugging my baby. Go do it today. Make time for your children, okay? Thank you, guys. Bye. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye. Let's see. Thank you. Yes, Leslie, thank you. And to my mods, thank you so much for coming in today. You know I love you all and appreciate your time because I know it does take time to be a mod. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.
Time to hit the road. Vroom, vroom. Let's go.